Welcome to All Gen Gamers, a podcast for people in video games of all generations. Starring Pete Dorr, Happy Console Gamer, Gamester81, and Jason Heine.
Hey guys, this is episode 32 of the All Gen Gamers podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, John, Gamester81. I'm here with Jason Heine, EMU Review. What's up, Jason?
What's up, guys?
We have Pete Game Room's Door. Pete, what's up?
What's going on, guys?
We have Johnny Millennium. Johnny, what's going on?
Oh, I'm happy to be here tonight, I tell you that.
It's a pleasure for all of us. We have a very special guest join us tonight, or today, and his name is Dr. Hank Chien. What's up, Dr. Hank? What's going on?
Hi, everyone. I'm good.
And Hank holds a record for one particular game. Hank, what is that game, and what would you score?
I hold the world record for the arcade version of Donkey Kong, which is the first Mario game, and my official high score is 1,068,000. And that was done December 27th and verified in early January.
Wow, that is an impressive feat.
Yeah.
I guess we should just kind of start from the beginning, and I want to get we want to get a feel for what got you into Donkey Kong, how long you've been playing it.
Yeah,
all that good stuff.
It's a very interesting story, actually. I mean, I saw The King of Kong like thousands of other people, millions of other people in 2007. Back then, I was just finishing up my plastic surgery residency. I was actually living in Nashville because I did my residency at Vanderbilt. And, I was in party mode because I just finished my residency. I was waiting to move back to New York, where I grew up. And, I was watching some movies and saw The King of Kong. And I didn't really think much at the time. But when I got back to New York and the dust sort of settled, I had to, study for my boards and get all my paperwork together to get a New York medical license. After all the dust settled, it was probably a year later when I started playing Donkey Kong. And that was November, end of 2008, end of November 2008. And back then I had no idea where I could find a Donkey Kong, the actual cabinet arcade. So I started playing on MAME, which is the computer emulator version. Mm-hmm. And I got good really fast. Within about 3 months, I kill screened the game. Wow. And I just started playing for fun. I had no intention of even kill screening, but I kept getting better. So I, kept playing because it's fun to see yourself get better.
Well, Hank, I got to ask you: were you a big gamer as a kid? You grew up with the Atari and probably the NES? Like, were you obsessed with video games when you were younger? Would you say?
I mean, my first console, my first gaming system was actually Commodore 64. Yeah. I mean, I had friends that had the Atari, but I didn't, my parents didn't really let me play video games. So we didn't own I had to tell my parents that, the Commodore was for school and we were using it to, type up reports. And then when the Commodore came home, we were playing games 24/7 on the Commodore. So then my parents had to hide the Commodore so we wouldn't play so many games. But
I think the audience is so interested how you kind of went into playing Donkey Kong. Like, what was the backstory before that? That's what's so interesting.
Yeah, I pretty much kept up with the times through the years. My first gaming console was probably a Super Nintendo, and I had to use my allowance money to buy that for myself. And back then, that was a lot of money for me. And I kind of kept up with the times. Then I got after the Super Nintendo. Then I got let's see, what was my next console? Probably the PlayStation, and then the Xbox, and then I pretty much have every gaming console since the Super Nintendo. And then I went back and bought a couple of consoles that I missed, like the Nintendo 64 and things like that. But yeah, as of today, I own everything pretty much back to the Super Nintendo. So I've never been much of a classic gamer, though. I've always kind of kept up with times and played whatever everyone else was playing. The usual like Halo and Super Mario Galaxy. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big fan of driving games too. And it was really only after I saw The King of Kong that I really had never played a game of Donkey Kong in my life before I saw that documentary.
Wow.
And that's basically what got me started.
What is it about Donkey Kong in particular that really got you hooked compared to other games?
I think it's because it has a very long learning curve, and anyone who's played that game can tell you that it's very difficult right off the bat. So in order to get good at it, you kind of have to learn little things here and there. And that learning, to this day, I'm still learning how to play the game. So the fact that there's always something new to learn, something new to try out, kept me interested. And also the fact that it's not so much pattern based, that there's a lot of randomness in the game. So even though you're playing the same board, it plays differently each time. If I had to run the same Pac-Man pattern 256 times, I'd go crazy. Not to bash Pac-Man players, but if I had to run the same Pac-Man pattern every 256 times, I'd go crazy. I'd probably fall asleep. Whereas Donkey Kong, even though it's the same board, starting at level 5 on Donkey Kong, it repeats itself. But even though it repeats itself, the barrels come down randomly, the wild barrels get thrown randomly, the fireballs behave randomly. So there's still a lot of randomness in the game.
What was when you first broke the record? What was your first feeling? Take us back that moment when you broke the record and you're filming this. What was going through your head?
Well, that was it was funny because in between 2007 and 2010, Twin Galaxies actually did not accept recorded scores of over 1 million. Meaning, if you wanted to have an official score of over 1 million, you would have to do it live in front of a Twin Galaxies referee.
Oh wow!
And realistically, it's almost impossible to do because, I understand Twin Galaxies is doing that to protect the scoreboard. They didn't want anyone cheating, so I can understand that, but realistically, it would be very hard for someone, how many attempts a year do you get to break 1 million in front of a referee? And it's something even I can't even do it today consistently, break 1 million points.
Yeah.
But at the end of 2010, they changed the rules. And that, coincidentally, that was around the time that I knew I was good enough to break the world record. So after they changed the rules, they made it very strict, but I'm glad they made it very strict actually, because it prevents people from cheating and, beating my score, by cheating. So I was trying basically for I knew I was good enough back then. And then, I didn't really have time to play until about January, February of 2010. Sorry, I got the dates wrong. Twin Galaxies changed the rules end of 2009. And I started going for the world record January, February 2010. And it only took me about a month of attempts before I finally broke it. But that day, actually, it's funny because it was snowing very heavily that day. And my car was buried in snow. I couldn't go into work. They called me telling me my surgery was canceled. So I was thinking, okay, snow day, what am I going to do? So I was like, I guess time to break Donkey Kong world record. So I had the whole day to play and do nothing except, I couldn't even go out. It was snowing so heavily. So I had the whole day cooped up in my apartment, and all I did was play Donkey Kong and sleep. And I think the sleep actually helped. It helped me stay alert. And it wasn't, I actually started the game that broke the world record. My first world record was, I started it maybe 10 or 11 at night. So by the time I finished the game, it was about 1 or 2 in the morning. But I was so excited. I woke up my brother, like I was yelling really, really loud.
Yeah.
Can imagine. Now there's you, there's Steve Wiebe and Billy Mitchell. Those are kind of the only 3 people who actually break 1 million, correct? As far as recorded?
Officially, yes. There are a couple other people who have broken it unofficially, meaning it wasn't recorded or it wasn't submitted for verification. And there are also a couple of people who have broken it on MAME, the computer version, the computer emulator. And
it's been quite a battle back and forth between the 3 of you guys.
It's still going on today.
Yeah.
I saw on your Facebook that you had some pictures with Billy Mitchell. What was that meeting that you guys had?
Yeah, in last December, there was an event at Richie Knuckles in New Jersey. He owns an arcade repair / sales shop, and he opens up his shop as an arcade also on Friday nights. But he held an event that weekend it was actually to break the Tron record. But he invited Billy Mitchell. Billy Mitchell came up, and Richie Knuckles is a good friend of mine, so I'm always there when he has an event. And he told me Billy Mitchell was going to be there, so I definitely wanted to be there because I'd never met Billy Mitchell, and he's an interesting character. He's very nice to me, actually. He's very, very nice to me.
Yeah,
I know the movie The King of Kong made him kind of turn out to be kind of like bitter, almost like a. Is he like that in real life? I've heard he's actually a pretty nice guy, like you mentioned. I mean,
yeah, he's a very nice guy. I mean, his personality is pretty much like they portray it in The King of Kong. He just has kind of a different sense of humor than everyone else. You know, he comes off as arrogant, but I think he's just trying to be funny. Mm-hmm. And I think he got a lot of slack because he doesn't play in public a lot, and he keeps saying how important playing in public is. And his last 2 world records were in public, actually. But especially the last world record, it wasn't really open to the public. I think his 2007 score was open to the public, but his 2010 score was kind of done almost secretly. But it had a few witnesses, so I guess you can call it public.
Because in the King of Kong, he sent that one last record in, he mailed it in, or gave it to that one lady to turn in, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, I heard the backstory behind that was it wasn't meant to be a submission. It was meant to just be a bounty. Like, anyone who can break this score will get $10,000. It was meant to be a challenge. Although in the end, it was verified as a submission. But I heard the initial intent was not to be a submission. It's just for fun.
I see. Have you met Steve Wiebe yet?
I actually haven't met Steve Wiebe, but we're friends on Facebook. We exchange messages and we've spoken on the phone. But we're gonna meet. Actually, I don't know if you know about the Kong Off. Mm-hmm. It's a Donkey Kong competition at Richie Knuckles, actually. That's probably the first time Steve, Billy, and I will all be together under the same roof.
That'd be cool.
And that's what, the 19th of March is coming up soon, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Are you guys going to be there?
Oh, I wish. I'm going to be at PAX East the week before, but unfortunately, I can't get the time off for work. I love to.
Yeah. Bummer. Yeah, they actually invited me out to PAX East, but I told them I can't get that many weekends off, and I need to be at the Kong Off.
No, I understand.
If I don't... If I don't put the Kong Off, people are going to say that I'm like cheating, or I'm
yeah, you can't say no to the Kong Off.
So, Hank, I got to ask you, you have so much experience with the Donkey Kong game. I'm so intimidated by it. I really am, because it is a very difficult game. Do you think, with your knowledge of the game, that a higher score than yours can be done? Do you think that?
Oh, definitely.
Really? Isn't that interesting?
I am 110% sure that I could do it myself. I think people always ask me, what do you think the theoretical max on Donkey Kong is? And it's a very good question, because it's no one knows. No one even knows what the theoretical max on the first board is, because there's just so much randomness involved.
Yeah.
Part of it, a lot of it is... well, just to answer the question, I think the theoretical max is probably maybe 1.5 million, but no one's ever going to get that. No one's ever going to get that. I think the humanly possible maximum is about 1.2 million.
Yeah.
But that's going to require a ridiculous amount of skill and luck. Mm-hmm. But just to give you an example, every time you smash a fireball or a blue barrel or a pie on the Pie Factory, you get randomly assigned 300, 500, or 800 points.
Oh, wow.
So, and there's no way to control, unless you can control the random number generator, there's no way you can control that. So just that fact alone, you probably, in a kill screen game, you probably smash several hundred blue objects. So the theoretical max would require that you get, 800 points on every single one of those smashes. And that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if that does happen, I'm going to accuse them of cheating. I'm going to challenge them right away.
There's a way to kind of manipulate the barrel rolls, though, right? As far as when they come down the ladder.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The control isn't so good at the beginning of the game, but the control starts getting good around level 4. Basically, if you want a barrel to come down a ladder, you point your joystick in the direction of the ladder as it's rolling over. So basically, as it's rolling over, it makes a decision whether, sometimes it'll come down on its own, but it'll make a decision as to whether it's going to come down or not. And if your joystick is pointed at the ladder, it's more likely to come down. When starting level 4, it's about 75% of the time it'll listen to you. But that was actually an artifact of the designers of the game. I think they're actually trying to make it harder because they figured if your joystick was pointed in that direction, you're probably headed toward that ladder, and it was trying to make it harder for you to go up that ladder by making the barrel come down. But as a result of that, the good players know how to use that to their advantage. The beginner player will probably find it harder, but the expert player actually finds it easier.
And you mentioned it only took you 3 months to get to the kill screen.
That's right.
So how many hours a week were you putting into playing Donkey Kong, would you say, on average?
Oh, back then, back then, first of all, back then I was only working part-time. So I had a lot more time back then. I would say about 3 hours a day I averaged, which I guess about 20 hours a week.
Okay.
But I was serious. I was borderline addicted. I mean, I'm sure some people play video games now more on a consistent basis, more than that.
Right.
But for me, that's a lot of time. Nowadays I average maybe an hour a day. It's not too bad because people always say, "How do you have so much time on your hands?" I'm like, I guarantee you, I play Donkey Kong less than you watch TV. Most people watch more than an hour a day. So,
and something we didn't really mention earlier on is what you do for a living. I mean, I imagine you don't have much free time. You're a doctor by trade.
Yeah, I'm a plastic surgeon. Fortunately, since I had just finished my residency when I started playing Donkey Kong, that my practice had to build up. But now my practice is pretty built up. So now I have less. Ironically, I have less time now that I'm good at Donkey Kong. But I still, everyone has a weekend off or a day off here and there, so I still find time.
We're just you're praying for them snow days.
Exactly. Unfortunately, winter's coming to a close, so I don't know.
Exactly.
I gotta
bust in here and ask: when you started playing Donkey Kong, the main version, did you have were you just playing it because you loved the game, or did you watch that documentary and say, "Man, one day I'd love to beat those guys"? I'm not meaning it in a bad way, like but what was your motivation for playing Donkey Kong?
I mean, honestly, I had no intention of breaking the world record. I didn't even know that I could kill screen because the movie made it sound so hard.
Yeah.
But a part of me did think, a part of me kind of made me say, well, what's so hard about this game? Because there's this line from Billy Mitchell where he says, someone asks him how many people have reached a kill screen, and he goes, well, now that I think of it, only I've reached a kill screen. And that made me a little angry. I was like, how hard can that game be that only one person in the world can reach the kill screen?
Right.
So part of me did, want to say, hey, someone else can reach the kill screen, but really, I was just playing for fun.
How many kill screens? I mean, how many screens are there on the board, Donkey Kong board?
There are 117 screens. If you include the kill screen, there's 117.
And so at the kill screen, it basically just glitches out and you die. Right.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting. What happens is the bonus timer is actually dependent on what level you're on. It does some funny mathematical formula to figure out how much bonus time to give you based on the level number. At level 22, that bonus timer overflows. So basically, you only get 400 bonus. So that's about 4 seconds, and you get about a 4-second leeway after the timer hits 0. So you die at about 8 seconds into the board. Basically, the game doesn't give you enough time to finish the board because the timer overflowed.
Wow. It's funny, when you were playing back then, could you ever have imagined that you would, watching that documentary? Like, I couldn't imagine watching that documentary and then one day looking back going, I beat those guys.
Yeah.
I'm the world champion. That must be the most elating thing. You must be used to it now. But the shock must have been wow.
I'm used to it now. I mean, well, it kind of came about slowly, so it wasn't like one day I woke up. That probably would have had a bigger impact. It wasn't like one day I woke up and I broke the world record. I kind of knew it was within my capability for months, and also because of that, scores over 1 million had to be done live rule. Yeah, it kind of delayed that. I knew it was within my capability, but I had to, I wasn't good enough to do it live. I knew I could do it recorded. So it was just a matter of time before I could get good enough to beat it live, or for them to change the rules. Unfortunately, they changed the rules. They changed the rules. Fortunately, I think they saw that there were a lot of good Donkey Kong players up and coming, and they don't want to stunt our growth, so to speak. So I think it was actually a very good decision on their part to eliminate that rule, because there's no other arcade game or any game has that rule except for Donkey Kong. And I understand, because of the prestige of that title, that they want to protect the integrity of the scoreboard. But at the same time, you don't want to discourage people from playing it. In fact, I know at least one very good player who was discouraged by that and stopped playing Donkey Kong because of that rule. And unfortunately, he hasn't, as far as I know, he hasn't picked up since then. His name is Scott Kessler. He's actually broken 1 million more than once. As far as I know, he hasn't broken the world record, but he's broken 1 million a couple of times. But he did it during the time that you had to do it live. So he basically just stopped playing, and it's unfortunate.
I thought it was interesting in the movie King of Kong how they actually went to Steve's house and broke his machine. They traveled cross country. They were like, "It's Die Hard, it's a serious business."
I was ready for Brian Koo to show up at my doorstep.
You got cookies and milk. You're like, welcoming hands. Anyone?
But I had nothing to hide. I mean, they can take apart my Donkey Kong machine and look everything. Every single part I have is original, as far as I know. And actually, there was a funny story. The original board that I got my Donkey Kong machine. Well, shortly after I killed Screen and Mame, I bought my Donkey Kong machine off of Craigslist from a guy in New Jersey. And I mentioned to him I'm going for a record, and I don't think he took me seriously. He's like, "Yeah, whatever, kid."
Yeah, especially off of Craigslist, like, "Yeah, whatever. Are you gonna buy it or not?"
So, but a few months, it was working fine when I got it, minus a few things I had to fix to make it nice. It was working fine, but a few months after I got it, it crashed. I don't think he sold me a lemon. I think it just genuinely crashed a few months after I bought it. So there's a guy named Ben Falls who I met, and I've become good friends with through this whole Donkey Kong thing. He's currently ranked, I think, 5th or 6th on the Donkey Kong scoreboard. But I asked him if he had a spare board, and fortunately he had a spare board. So I bought that spare board from him, and I replaced my own board. And then I had to get my board. I fixed my original board, but then it's no longer original, so I couldn't use it for record-setting purposes. But anyway, when I broke the record, I was joking around. I have a box in my apartment with Ben Fall's name on it. So I was joking around. If I break the world record, Brian Koo's going to show up to my house, see a box with Ben Fall's name on it, and immediately disqualify me.
So have you ever thought about dabbling into maybe playing Donkey Kong Jr. or Donkey Kong 3 or any other retro games and checking out those records?
I've tried Donkey Kong Jr. I haven't played it a lot, but that game, it's semi-patternable, and it's just not as fun. It's more routine, so to speak, and also the point pressing on that is not fun at all. I mean, you just have to sit around and jump sparks until the timer runs out. On Donkey Kong, you can't sit around and jump barrels. You'll actually lose points if you sit around and jump barrels until the timer runs out. But in Junior, that's not the case. It's very boring to point press Junior.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, how many hours a week now do you practice, and do you think in the future you're gonna beat your own record again?
I would say I play about an hour a day, and it's not consistent. I mean, some days I play all day, and there are some weeks that I don't play at all. In fact, I'm just coming off probably a 1 or 2 month break. I'm starting to play now because I'm practicing for the Kong off. The high score, the world record it's very beatable. Let's just say that I'm 110% sure I can beat it.
Are there any secrets that you're willing to share about Donkey Kong and playing it, or is that you can keep that under wraps?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to share what I know, but it's hard to get into detail without showing you as opposed to telling you.
Sure.
In terms of in terms of world record scores now, you pretty much have to run down ladders and re-jump barrels. But at the same time, not steer too many barrels out of the way, because every barrel you steer out of the way is 100 fewer points. So, and every time you run down a ladder, you're taking an extra risk, because more barrels are piling up on top of you, and there could be a bad formation. But I think for world record scores, that's the key now, being able to run down ladders and re-jump barrels. I find it safest to do that at the top for a few reasons. First, the fireballs are usually far away at the top, because the fireballs start at the bottom and then they work their way up. The second reason is the barrel configurations are more predictable at the top, because Donkey Kong releases barrels in a set pattern. I mean, they're not at fixed intervals, but there are certain patterns that he'll release barrels in. Mm-hmm. And you kind of have to recognize the intervals and be able to control them to form good formations. I know that's not being clear, but that's as good as I can explain it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I've been playing it. I mean, my highest record is like 90,000, so I am far from where you're at right now. So.
Yeah, at your stage, do not run down a ladder. Not in barrels.
I have issues with the springs, like just timing those right, and those always tend to get me, the elevator.
Yeah, that's a good thing to talk about for sort of beginner intermediate players. Yeah. First thing you have to notice is that the springs all bounce in different locations. Mm-hmm. So when you're trying to get to, do you know where the safe spots are on the springboard?
I do.
Yeah. Well, when you're running left from the first safe spot, obviously you want a spring that's going to be bounce as far left as possible, so you can get as much of a head start as possible. Whereas when you get to the second safe spot, when you're running right up the final ladder, you want to go on a spring that's as far right as possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's for the same reason you want to get as much of a head start as possible.
Yeah. It's just it's timing and knowing. It is a lot. Yeah. You need almost. I would say you only have a margin of error of about 1/10 of a second on that level. That's probably the part of Donkey Kong that requires the most precision. And even when you're running up that final ladder, even if you time it perfectly, you still may not be able to climb up the ladder, because if you get another spring that bounces to the right, that spring can get you when you're climbing. So you have to retreat. You have to be able to recognize when you're getting another bad spring and retreat. Uh-huh. Huh.
But you have to multitask. You have to be watching one part of the screen and doing the other part blindly. So that's how I do it. I pay attention to where the springs are bouncing, and I control Mario blindly. But everyone does that a little bit differently.
It's interesting. Very cool. And so. Go ahead, Johnny.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I don't know anything about this Kong off. What is going to happen there? What are you guys going to do there? This sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's Richie invited the top, who he considered the top 10 players currently in Donkey Kong, and pretty much all of them agreed to come. I think there was one player who initially agreed and backed out. That was Tim Skirby. He was actually the person who initially broke Billy Mitchell's world record. But he didn't get as much attention because he was pretty much excluded from the film. But pretty much all 10 of the top players accepted. And they're flying in from all. There are even a couple of people from Canada, 1 or 2 players from Canada even. But they're we're all going to be under one roof. We have about maybe 10 hours on Saturday and about 5 hours on Sunday. Wow. Basically, this was actually argued upon. How do you decide a winner? Is it the best average score? Is it the best high score? Et cetera, et cetera. So what they finally agreed on was with the highest score, the one highest score at the end of the competition. So you could be getting 100,000 the whole weekend and then break out, a 1.1 million at the end and win the competition. Wow. There was a lot of argument because the way the way the scoring system in Donkey Kong goes, because there's a kill screen, if you want a really high score, you have to kind of play very risky. and squeeze out as many points as possible. So it's not like a lot of games where you're just trying to go get as far as possible, and that usually corresponds to a higher score. In Donkey Kong, you have to take a lot of risks to get a really high score. I'll give you an example. If I'm just running boards, I can probably get consistently 700,000 or 800,000 if I'm just playing for survival. But if I'm going for a world record, I'll churn out, maybe 300,000, 400,000 point games pretty often. So if you didn't know how I was playing, you would assume the 700,000 point player is better than the 300,000 or 400,000 point player, but it's not the case. Are you following me? Because you're playing the game. You're playing the game a lot more riskier.
Yeah.
And you could take 3 times the risk and only score maybe 10% more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even though your score may be lower, you may be the better player. So that's why there was this whole argument about how do you decide a winner. And the problem with the best average score is then people aren't going to take any risk. People are just going to run through the boards, and you're never going to set a world record, and it's going to be boring to watch because everyone's going to be playing safely. Mm-hmm. Whereas the high score is a little bit better. I still don't think that's the best format, because realistically, you can't beat the world record in 6. I'm thinking between 10 hours on Saturday and 5 hours on Sunday. You only have about 6 full games. Realistically, no one can break the world record in six games. It's going to take people at least, I would say, 20 to 50 games to break even the top players. It's going to take 20. It would take me probably 20 to 50 games to break my own score. So it's probably, and I'm not going to be playing to break the world record at the Kong Off even, because I know realistically I can't do it in 6 attempts. I'm gonna try to put up over 1 million point score at the Kong Off though.
Nice.
But I mean, if I had to come up with a scoring system that had the best chance of breaking the world record at the Kong Off, I would do something like reward very high risk play. But that becomes very complicated. So for simplicity, I kind of agree. Just high score by the end of the competition wins. But in terms of breaking the world record, it's probably not the best format.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Well,
do you feel any pressure going to an event like that? Because now everybody's going to try to, not that you said that you're not going to try to break your own record, because that's not going to happen at this competition. But now there's almost a prestige that, you are the best in the world, which you are. Do you feel a lot more pressure now because of that title that they've has been bestowed upon you?
Well, a little bit. I think I'm going to feel more pressure just from having a crowd watching me. They're probably going to be maybe 200 people there watching. Yeah. So, and it's also going to be all 10 games are going to be streamed on the internet. Yeah. So
yeah.
It's going to be a lot. I mean, it's nothing compared to what Steve Wiebe did at E3. He was streaming it on national TV in front of like maybe 1,000 people.
Yes.
And with all these lights and cameras on him. I think this will be a little less stress, but it's honestly, I don't do as well when people are watching me, because you can see the reflection of people watching you in the bezel, the glass on the. And I know when people are watching me, and it does distract me, and I get a little nervous, and
yeah.
There's just all these faces back there. You can just see them in the thing.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't mind if there's a webcam there. That's fine. That won't distract me. But I don't want. What I really hate is someone watching me from behind my back. In fact, this weekend I went up to Fun Spot. I don't know if you know what Fun Spot is, right? Yeah. It's I went up to Fun Spot to practice for the Kong Off, and it was funny because I had a good game going, and this maybe 6-year-old boy kept walking right up to my machine, as and sticking his face in the screen, and he kept talking to me. He's like, "Oh, is that your high score?" Yeah, he was pointing at the thing on the machine.
Oh no!
And at the beginning of the game, I had a good game going, but I was kind of patient with him, and I spoke to him. I said, "Yeah, that's my high score, but that's only a high score for the day, because the high score resets after every time you shut it off." But he kept every 10, 15 minutes, he would come back and ask me a new question. And by when I was getting into seriously high scores, I was a little less patient with him. I said, I scared him off. I said, "You can watch me play, but please don't talk to me. And he didn't come back after that.
Give him a handful of quarters, get out of here, kid.
And then
out of here.
My girlfriend she was playing she didn't even dare bother me when she saw that I had a good game going. She was sitting about two cabinets down playing Dr. Mario, and she looks at me, she's like, I think you scared him off. You didn't have to be so mean to him. I was like, I wasn't trying to be mean.
That's pretty funny.
That's awesome. So it's funny, you go down there. Were you recognized? You walk in that place and everybody's like, hey, look who it is. It's Hank.
Well, I think people were actually expecting me. There were a lot of people who recognized me. And also the fact that I have a camcorder on my machine, it draws a little bit of attention. Yeah. I am actually I do get recognized a lot now, and especially at a place like Fun Spot. I mean, there are people asking me for my pictures and things like that. So it is a good feeling. I think it also helped that I told Gary Vincent, who's the president of the Classic Arcade Museum at Fun Spot. I told him I was coming up, so I think he kind of got the word out. So people were kind of expecting me to be there.
That's pretty cool.
But it's kind of fun, like being a mini celebrity.
Well, that kind of segues into our next topic I want to talk about is your documentary that you have out, Dr. Kong, right? Can you kind of explain to us about how that came about and what it was like to have a camera around you a lot and all that good stuff?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. When I knew I was good enough to get the world record, this was back in November 2009. One of the bartenders at Barcade, she's actually a filmmaker as well. She approached me with the idea of making a documentary about me, and at first I was like, why would anyone care about a documentary about me? But I became good friends with her, and I trusted her, so I said, sure, if it's going to help you, it doesn't, it's no skin off my back. So basically, she followed me around for the next few months. And it was only about 3 months later that I broke the world record. So it ended up being a short documentary. She actually followed me. The first time I went to Fun Spot was actually November 2009. So that was where the first scene was filmed. And it was funny because after that trip, we're driving home, and I told her, I'm sorry if I disappointed you. I told you from the start that the odds are I wouldn't be able to do it in one weekend. And she's like, no, I'm glad you didn't break it. It would have been a very short documentary if you did.
Yeah. Need the build up, absolutely.
Right. So she basically followed me for a few. It was only about 3 months until I broke the world record, and then she followed me everywhere. She followed me to work. And then after I broke the world record, she followed me, on all these. I was getting calls from all over the place to be on TV, or, I got called by Guinness. I got called, by a lot of newspapers and things like that. So she kind of followed me around through all that, and that's pretty much how the documentary ends.
Where can we view this movie for those of us who would like to see it? I know you had a screening last week, right?
Yeah, we had a screening. That was basically the first time it was shown publicly. It was last week in New York. You can actually buy the DVD now by going to the official website. It's the drkongthemovie.com. Right now, there's no official way there's no streamlined way to buy the movie, but if you send her an email, she'll send you a copy. I don't know how the payment works here. You might have to send her a check. There's no PayPal. I told her she needs to get a PayPal account. There's no
Definitely. Yeah.
I think that would up your sales a lot.
I think a lot of people want to see this movie. This will be very, very. How was it for you watching it? Did you watch it last weekend?
It is hilarious. Well, I had a very, very private screening of it when she finished it. It is awesome. She is she's very, very talented, and she's very bright. But I couldn't stop laughing. I don't think it was just because it was about me. I could not stop laughing. There's not a dull moment in that film. And it was funny because afterwards she asked me, did you think it was boring? I was like, it was exact opposite. I couldn't stop laughing. In fact, I missed a lot of my own lines because I was laughing so hard. So, but it's going to be, there are a few screenings coming up. There's, let's see, it's going to be shown at the Midwest Gaming Classic, I think it's called, in I think it's in May, or it's in the springtime sometime.
Okay.
It's going to be shown at the Kong Off, and it got into one film festival so far, but she just started the process of entering into film festivals. So, and I think that film festival is somewhere in Connecticut. But it's gonna make its rounds.
Can't wait to see it.
You can, I mean, if you check the official website, there should be a listing of where it's going to screen. And for the most part, the screenings are going to be free. So she's basically going to try to break even by selling the DVDs. She put out, I know she put out thousands of her own money to make the film. So I hope she at least breaks even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll buy a copy, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, please do. Please support her. Yeah,
for sure.
Support her.
Just totally get that PayPal on there.
Yeah, definitely.
PayPal, okay, she gets the PayPal going. You know?
Right.
That's funny. How has your life changed since, those old days of when you were playing on MAME to now? Like, how have you personally, handled this change in perception of you and, on your ability playing the game? Like, what has the change been for you?
It's kind of funny because, first, I overall, I consider myself a pretty good video game player, but this is the only game that I realistically have a chance at breaking a world record at, and probably the only game I will ever break a world record at, because I don't plan on investing this much time in any other game. But every time I break the world record, it changes for, maybe a month, and then it just goes back to normal. Aside from the occasional person who asks for an autograph or a picture, I hang out at Barcade a lot, which is this bar arcade in Brooklyn. And I get recognized there a lot, just because there's a lot of classic arcade gamers there. But the locals all knew me. The regulars, I should say. The regulars all knew me before I broke the world record, so they're like, "Oh, it's just Hank." But I guess when the Friday or Saturday night crowd comes, then that's when people start asking for pictures or autographs.
Yeah, that's a cool bit about it, right? That's a fun bit about it all.
But it's funny because some of my patients, some patients have found me through this whole Donkey Kong story, and some of my patients found out afterwards. So it's interesting to hear the reactions from both sides. Because some people, when they're researching nowadays, it's very common when you're researching a doctor to Google them. And I have to warn patients. I said, when you Google me, you're not going to find anything except Donkey Kong. Everything.
Confident after that.
Right. Everything I've ever accomplished in my life has gotten wiped out on the internet because of Donkey Kong.
Awesome.
Hank, I have an interesting question for you. I know this is the 30th anniversary for Donkey Kong, correct? This year?
Yeah, it is.
Do you think Nintendo should make a revamped or a newer version of Donkey Kong, or would you want to see that, or do you think it is good as it is right now?
They reissued, they call it a triple Donkey Kong machine a few years back. Mm-hmm. It plays Donkey Kong Jr., and I think Super Mario Brothers or Mario Brothers.
Right.
The thing is, I think that honestly, the market for that is very small. I just don't think people would be interested in playing it, because even that triple Donkey Kong machine, it doesn't. I see them at Dave and Buster's all the time. They don't get a lot of gameplay.
Right.
And they also can't charge. They maybe charge 50 cents for them. So
Yeah. How about with like newer graphics and stuff like that? Would you want to see something like that, or like?
Well, personally, yeah, I would love to see something like that. But from Nintendo's standpoint, I'm not sure. They're probably thinking in terms of dollars and cents. Right. From their standpoint, it may not be a smart thing to do. I personally would love it. I think the gameplay is perfect, though. And obviously, I'm so fine tuned to that gameplay that if they did reissue it, I wouldn't want them to change a thing. Mm-hmm. Except maybe the graphics and the music. But yeah, I personally would love to see something like that. And I don't know if you know about the Video Game Hall of Fame. I think they're planning on doing something for Donkey Kong as well, because last year it was kind of their first big event, and they did something for Pac-Man, because last year was Pac-Man's 30th birthday. So this year, there are rumors that they're even going to have a Donkey Kong competition. So we'll see if that pans out.
Well, maybe they should go to the plastic surgeon for the facelift.
Yeah, well, that's what I always say. There are actually a lot of, the patients who give me slack for playing Donkey Kong. They're like, "You're a doctor and you're playing Donkey Kong." I start citing all these articles that say that video game players do better at surgery, and it's true. It basically boils down to hand-eye coordination. If you're a good video game player, you probably have good hand-eye coordination, and that's required for surgery as well. So I actually was a guinea pig in one of the first studies on correlating video games and surgery, because it kind of makes sense. And there was a surgeon named Dr. Rosser, he's a laparoscopic surgeon. He was, when I was doing my general surgery training, I was in the same hospital as he was for at Beth Israel, New York. And he basically was recruiting guinea pigs, and I was like, sure, it sounds interesting. Why not? So, I played a bunch of video games. I think they had Super Monkey Ball, they had Silent Scope, and they had, I think, the Star Wars racer, that racer for the GameCube. And then they had a bunch of laparoscopic. Do you know what laparoscopic is? It's when you poke small holes in the abdomen, and you put a camera inside, and you're basically operating with chopsticks. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That actually feels exactly like a video game, because what you're doing with your hands is not exactly what you're seeing, but it's correlated with what you're seing. It's almost exactly like a video game. And in fact, when you point the camera at yourself, it's like operating a mirror image. So it's kind of like in certain video games when you have to do things in mirror image. It's almost exactly like a video game. But anyhow, he wanted to show that there was a correlation between video games and surgery, and there was a very strong correlation. Is what he found. It was funny because at the end of the study, one of the people who was working on a study, he came up to me and he said, "Did you know that you were 5 standard deviations above the mean on video games?" I was like, no, but thanks.
I'm pretty good at video games. You must not know who I am.
No, back then I was nobody.
So all the kids listening to this, whose parents tell them to pick another hobby other than video games, well, tell them this story.
Yeah,
right.
There's proof.
You know what else was funny is that they were the one of the big Chinese newspapers in New York came to interview me, and Chinese parents are very strict. They don't want their kids. They want their kids studying for the SAT from when they're age 9.
Sure.
So they actually interviewed me maybe I would say when I finished high school. So at about 1992, because I won some scholarship and I'd gotten into Harvard and this and that. So they were interviewing me. It was a very Chinese story. It was about my academic success. And then, come 18 years later, now they're interviewing me about Donkey Kong. And I actually told her that, you guys interviewed me 18 years ago about academic success, and now you're interviewing me about a video game. So the reporter was actually very clever. She said the kids are going to love you now. Kids hated you 18 years ago, but now they're going to love you.
I think it's a great story.
Yeah,
absolutely. What kind of advice, Hank, do you have to those gamers who are looking to be more into competitive gaming and maybe not necessarily Donkey Kong, but just maybe in their preferred arcade game? What kind of advice would you share to them?
I think that's exactly the advice I'd go with, which is pick a game that you like, because if you're going to go into competition or try to set a world record on a game, you have to spend serious hours on that game, and there's no way you can do it if you don't like the game. And like I said, when I started playing Donkey Kong, I had no intention of kill screening or breaking the world record. I was just playing for fun, and it's still fun to this day. I would stop playing if it wasn't fun for me anymore. And I think it's going to stop becoming fun when I stop learning new things. But yeah, I think that's my best advice.
So what do you feel that you have to learn about the game still? I know there's a lot of randomness that you're saying. Right. But what things do you think, hey, I need to work on this more for your game?
Yeah, I need to work on my barrel boards in particular. I think, relatively speaking, that's probably my weakest board. And that's the board that's the sort of the most point pressable. It's the board that you can squeeze out the most points. Meaning, if you play conservatively versus playing risky, you can squeeze out maybe 50% more points. Whereas all the other boards, if you play conservatively versus risky, you're maybe only squeezing out 10% more points. So in terms of, getting a really high score, you just need to get really good at that board. And specifically, right now, I'm a very conservative person by nature. So I started out playing the game very conservative, but it's the exact opposite now. I have to force myself to play risky. And one of the things I have a bad habit of doing is steering barrels out of the way, steering them so that I know I'm safe from that barrel. But that's 100 points that's lost. And at this point, every 100 point matters. I'm like squeezing out every 100 point here and there. So the world record, like I said before, it's still very beatable, but you have to start squeezing out 100 points here and there.
I have an interesting trivia fact about Donkey Kong, Hank. I don't know if you knew. Do you know how they came up with the name Mario for the game?
I think it was the warehouse owner's first name.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
For Nintendo of America, yeah, because before it was just Jumpman when it first came out. Exactly. In fact, I think when Donkey Kong came out, he was actually called Jumpman. Mario wasn't even his name back then. Right. Yeah, it's interesting. And Luigi actually was named after the pizza parlor that they used to go to eat pizza.
I did not know that. That's a cute story.
Yeah. So, well, Hank, it's been awesome having you on the podcast.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. It was my pleasure.
And we all wish you luck at the Kong Off.
Thank you.
We're rooting for you, man.
Yeah.
Wait, Hank, where can we watch this live? Do you know where they're going to be streaming it live?
I believe it's going to be on arcade.com, AURCADE. If it's not on arcade.com, the Kong Off actually has an official website. It's thekongoff.com. You could probably find a link from there to where the streams are going to be.
Okay.
Thekongoff.com.
Cool. Yeah, we'll check it out.
All right.
And to check out your DVD, we know that it's not all up on the site. Is it drkong.com?
It's drkongthemovie.com.
Okay.
And if you just send her an email, she'll tell you how to go about buying a DVD.
I'll be emailing her tonight.
Great.
So
can we get an autograph copy?
Oh yeah, sure. Let her know that I see her at least once a week. So let her know you want it to be autographed, and I'll autograph it for you.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
That'd be great. Thank you again, Hank, for joining us.
Yeah, no, it really was my pleasure. Really was my pleasure.
Wow, that was just so amazing. I can't believe it.
That was it was great. It was a pleasure having him on, man. That was
Yeah, what a cool guy,
Totally. So down to earth and grounded, and it's nice to see that, type of thing. Like a guy like that deserves his success, for sure.
I know Pete had a whole bunch of stuff to say too. Pete, you were so talkative in the whole thing.
Well, I mean, you guys knew all the questions to ask, and I didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted to let it flow, so I let you guys do all the talking.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we covered everything with him. We learned a lot of stuff. So I'm coughing my brains out.
Just to let everyone know, Johnny
threw
his back out.
No, I didn't throw my back out. I was lifting a box at work, and I felt a little twinge, and I know. I just, for sure. I'm in a lot of pain, so I'm kind of laying down right now. I'm like some old man. I used to be a video gamer.
You know what you're going to get in the mail, dude? You're going to get in the mail from Mr. Heine a fold-up walker and 2 tennis balls.
Well, what I want is a Snuggie, Jason. I want a Snuggie, too. Do you know what? So I can be laid on my bed in pain, and somebody can just put the Snuggie on me and have done with me.
And you're done. Just tuck him in.
You don't have to worry about me after that. It's over. We'll come back 5 days later and find out I'm dead. But I can't get over it. Like, I just can't get over that we had him on. And that was great stuff. We just talked to the new, the world champion in Donkey Kong. That's, because I think I'm a fanboy, after watching that King of Kong movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I saw that movie, I was like, that kind of introduced me to, you know, these guys. And to find out this guy's the one who topped all of them. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And he just seems like a very down-to-earth guy.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's interesting he never played Donkey Kong before King of Kong. You know, it didn't sound like he really picked up Donkey Kong much. And
Yeah, like 3 months is all it took. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just shows how inspirational that movie is. I mean, even though it's outdated now, that is still definitely, if you have not seen The King of Kong, you have to. I've seen that movie a handful of times as well. John, how many times have you seen it now?
oh gosh, 20 or more. It's one of my favorite movies, honestly. I watch it, and every time I see it, I pick up something different from it. And even the extras, little like extras in the DVD, are fun to watch. The behind the scenes, and they have like a little extra part of it where they show you like Billy, and it shows you Billy's playthrough, and it shows you Steve Weeby's playthrough side by side.
Oh wow!
And it's interesting to see how similar their game style is, and yet how different it is.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really great to see you know, people more into Donkey Kong. I think that game really helped revive it. There's a movie called Chasing Ghosts I've been wanting to see too. Have you guys heard about this?
Yeah, I want to check that out as well.
That's like basically it's the same idea but with Pac-Man.
Yeah.
So but great.
I can check it out.
Yeah.
I want to see Hank's movie. I want to see his documentary.
I'm ordering it right now actually as we speak. So
Oh.
no.
What did she take? Check?
Yeah, I know I'm gonna order after the podcast here, but yeah, it was great, man. Good to have him on the show.
I want to see his you know, his story in a documentary form. Right? And he you know what? The movies, you know, the documentary must be good because he said how much he enjoyed it. And it's really funny if somebody does a documentary on you and you've got to sit at a private screening and watch it. It better be good because, you know, it would be embarrassing if it's not. And he said, yeah, she did a great job. So I'm really buying it. I know it's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do now? Well, that's such a high. What do we all go? Donkey Kong high score now? What can we do?
I want to go home and play it because for those who have not played Donkey Kong, it is one of the hardest, I'm not exaggerating, one of the hardest arcade games, or if not one of the hardest video games you'll ever play.
Yeah.
It is super challenging. I probably put in maybe 6 to 8 hours a week in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like I'm not getting any better. Like it's tough. It is really hard. So I'll still continue doing it and trying it. Who knows? But
hey, John.
Yeah.
John, what is Jumbo Junkie? What was his high score?
I think he's like 280 or something like that. He was up there.
Yeah.
So you know, but when you're talking about in the million point range, that's just another league. I mean, that's And I know Tim Jumbo Junkie. He plays the game a lot too, religiously, and you know, so. But
I thought he'd really like this episode. I was thinking about him. I thought, God, he's gonna like this. You know, so yeah. You know, I think it's exactly what he said. You really have to love the game. He plays a couple hours, you know, every day. You know, that's pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, because you're gonna get bored. You know what I mean? If you're not really into it, if you don't love it, there's no way you're gonna invest that. You're gonna get bored.
Well, when I watched The King of Kong and they were talking about how hard it was, it really turned me off the game. I thought, no, there's no way. Like that's a dedication.
Mm-hmm.
That's like it's dedication. You know, and even if I dedicated my life to doing that, would I be able to do it? It's unknown. You'd have to love to do it, type of thing. But it's not my gig. It's not something I could do.
I have a question for you guys. What if you guys were to pick one game that you wanted to go for the top score, whether it's an arcade game or video game, what would that be? Do you guys have one in mind? Johnny, we'll start with you. Put you on the spot.
Off the top of my head, if I could pick a game and actually sit at it and get good at it, of course I'd want Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Like just to have that prestige of being, say, you know, the number one player in the world. That's beyond reality. I think that's everybody's dream, but it's not a dream that I'm going to accomplish. What would yours be, John?
Outside of Dynamite Ducks.
I own the greatest high score in that game.
Yeah, the only score in that game.
The only score in that game. No, I would probably Donkey Kong as well. You know, because it is my favorite, but it's also just it's super popular right now because people are wanting to break it. You know, so that'd be cool. And Jason, how about you, buddy?
Well, keeping it in the Donkey Kong realm, I would say Donkey Kong Country, the competition cartridge.
Ooh, the Blockbuster one. Wasn't
Blockbuster
it?
competition cartridge.
How much did that run? Like about $600 loose?
Oh man, I've seen them anywhere from about $6.99 all the way up to about $1,500.
Yeah.
Sorry, like Jason, what is that about?
The Donkey Kong competition cartridge. There was a few actually. Blockbuster used to host tournaments, and in cooperation with Nintendo, actually, they would host these competitions, and these are modified games. So, like, let's talk about Donkey Kong Country. What it is, it's a port of Donkey Kong Country, but what it is when you turn the system on, it gives you a launch screen, and you hit start. And the game instantly starts. There's no splash screen, no intro, no nothing. Just dumps you into the game, and you play it. And you play it as fast as you can, get as far as you can, and it has a timer at the top of the screen. When the timer runs out, the game stops, and it shows you what your score is.
Oh,
so they had these competitions where they would let people play, and whoever got the highest score at the end of the time limit, they would get prizes and win stuff like that. They also have Star Fox. They did a Star Fox competition cartridge, and they were only available through Blockbuster through this competition. They weren't even sold. I think they were supposed to even be returned in Nintendo, I believe, after the competition was over. So to even find one, it's pretty rare. So,
that's really cool.
So they're selling for ungodly amounts of money on eBay. They have for years. They always have been. But so yeah, between $700 and $1,500 for a cartridge. It's not unheard of for these games, but I would say I would probably do that and just try to beat or get a very high score on that.
Yeah.
What about you, Pete?
Probably Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I mean, I'm not an expert at playing that game for score, but if I ever did have to pursue one, I'd go with that.
Interesting.
Very cool.
Nice.
So guys, guess what I picked up this couple days ago, actually.
What did you pick up?
I picked up. I know we talked about it. I think back during the episode that we started talking about games that we're looking forward to back in the day. And Jason mentioned this game. Remember Rock of the Dead?
Mm-hmm.
I picked this game up for $15 new, and this game came out in October of 2010, and it's already down to 15 new.
Is that a testament of the game?
This is a testament of the game itself. It's interesting. At first I wasn't really sure what to expect. I know you use a guitar from either Rock Band or Guitar Hero. You can also use the drums. It was compatible with the drums. It's Neil Patrick Harris is the main voice. I'm a big fan of Neil Patrick Harris and what he does. But so that's kind of interesting. And the music in the background is Rob Zombie. So the whole premise.
So on the surface, it sounds great.
Yeah, so it's got Felicia Day is the voice of the girlfriend, and so it's got some great voice actors, and it's got great music. Rob Zombie definitely puts you in the zombie mode. It plays very similar to House of the Dead or Typing of the Dead, where you can't really control where you're going. It's all preset for you, predetermined where you move. And the whole plot of the game is this meteorite falls from the sky, and all these zombies come out. And in order to destroy the zombies, you have to strum like certain chords on your guitar to kill them. Right, but here's where it gets really confusing: is the way that the color code, like it's set up. It's set up where it's hard to explain, but it's left or it's top down, right? So you have your red, yellow, blue, whatever, but it's top down. But on your guitar, it's left, right. So it's kind of confusing. Does that make sense? It's really confusing as far as where you need to strum, and if there's multiple enemies attacking you at one time, you've got to actually strum the right. Like say I want to push red, but instead I push yellow, it's going to attack a different enemy, and you can't attack multiple enemies at one time. So it takes you a couple, like if you fuck up in that regard, it takes you a while to catch like, okay, what enemy did I hit? And it's really confusing. So it's very much like Typing of the Dead. If you guys have played that, or House of the Dead, the graphics are it's for PS3. I think it would have been better as like a DLC rather than just a disc. But I figure I'd pick it up and try it for $15 new.
Didn't they cancel the Guitar Hero franchise?
I was going to mention that. Yeah. Activision got rid of Guitar Hero, and they're not going to do any more Tony Hawks as of this year anyway.
I built those ones too much. That's what happened.
That's the thing with Activision. It's kind of frustrating. Is they take a good franchise like Tony Hawk or like Guitar Hero, and they just milk the shit out of it. Too much. I mean, shit, it was like the point where every month they had a Guitar Hero DS game. They had, World Tour, and then they had, they had a ton of too much Guitar Hero, and they didn't really focus on the DLC really so much.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of frustrating. I hope that they don't do the same thing to Call of Duty. You know, I know they just announced doing a new DLC for Black Ops, right? That's coming out soon.
Yeah, that'll do well.
It will do well. It will do well, yeah. But I mean, it's getting to the point where, you know, how many Call of Duties are they come out with?
That's funny, John. I didn't know that they canceled Tony Hawk.
Yeah. Well, dude, Tony Hawk, the last one,
for-
the Shred, or what was the last one they made? The one with the skateboard?
I can't believe they made another one after that ride one came out and bombed. Yep.
Yeah, and it like sold literally like only 60,000 copies or some crazy low number. They lost a ton of money, and Activision laid off 500 employees from Guitar Hero, which is really sad. You hate to see people lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, they're a huge company. They buy out these smaller developers, and unfortunately, if they milk it till it's dry, and when it's done, it's done. You know? And that's the thing about Activision, and you know, EA is kind of the same way, I guess. All the big guys are kind of the same way. But
I like, you know, it's funny. It's kind of a testament. Like when I played the original Tony Hawk on PS1, I freaking love that game. And then the next Tony Hawk came out, I bought that. The next one came out, then Underground came out, and then after a while, I just started to go. You know, it just became too many. I was just like, oh, of course, another Tony Hawk game. It became more of a joke rather than something cool to look forward to. It was just every year there's another Tony Hawk game. And it was like, how about we pace it out? I'd rather have one great Tony Hawk game than about 10 that are all about the same. You know what I mean? And that's what really sucked. The first game, Tony Hawk, well, you guys played that back in the day. That was amazing.
of course, absolutely.
Loved Tony Hawk back then so much. I remember that was the first game. Like Rob rented it, brought it over, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I'll like this game. And so I'm playing it, and he's like, oh, okay, give me the controller back. I'm like, no. And I really no, you know that whole joke, you know, where you're playing a game so much you don't want to give the controller back. I mean, I did not want to give it back. I said, no, man, no, seriously, I just want to do this, and I was addicted. I played that game like for hours on end. I'm sad to hear it's ended like that, but. Is somebody going to pick it up again? Do we know? Is there going to be any more Tony Hawk games?
You know, I don't know. Know. It's going to be interesting. I know Harmonix is on its own as well. I think EA got rid of Harmonix. So Harmonix is on its own, and it'll be interesting to see what happens to the Rock Band series franchise.
I think their best bet, honestly, is just lay off the Tony Hawk games for like 5 years and then get people hyped up with a new release, sort of a one that maybe goes back to the more arcadey style of the originals, you know, and kind of get everybody all excited for it again. Just call it Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Don't give it any subtitle, you know, do that stupid cop-out thing where you just take the original title and, you know, 50% of the time those games turn out to be crap, you know, like Splatterhouse and all that kind of crap.
I agree with you, Pete. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. Yeah, that's basically, you know, just give it some time. Give it a few years. You got to let people forget about it.
Well, you know, they should wait 15 years and call it Tony Hawk Forever.
Tony Hawk.
You know, and say that it's gonna come out, and then different platforms come out, and then they finally announce it and they call it Tony Hawk Forever.
Tony Hawk grinding with the walker.
Yeah, I was just about to say Tony Guy, old guy edition. Comes to the walker. I was going to say the same thing.
It's a wheelchair. Sure. It's a wheelchair now. You know, he's on his little wheelchair. He's all spinning out.
Instead of, you know, going off, 50 count of stairs, you know, you're trying to navigate, you know, ramps.
Yeah, you're just trying to navigate getting food into your mouth.
You got sponge baths that you got to worry about and all that good stuff. But,
it comes with a sponge bath peripheral.
Yeah.
Can you wash yourself in this amount of time? Holy shit. You're only allowed to play the game if you're 65 and older.
Yeah.
Get a senior citizen discount at GameStop when you buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, hey guys, I got to chime in with this because I thought this was. I wouldn't say it's funny as I just went, oh my God, of course. But the 3DS was hacked in its first day of release in Japan.
Wow.
Oh, no.
What'd they do to it? Like, what do you mean hacked?
Some people were able to get, playing emulator games on their 3DS.
Wow.
From what I heard, they did it through the R4 flash card. They did it within 24 hours. I'll try to find something on this here.
It's crazy that they've packed the PS3, they've packed the 3DS.
Yeah,
it's amazing what they have so much time on their hands to do this.
Yeah, and so here it is. It goes, Nintendo's new handheld, the 3DS, has already been hacked to play pirated games. While a method to play bootleg 3DS games has yet to emerge, crackers had copied DS titles running on the device within 24 hours of its Japanese launch on Saturday. This was achieved with the notorious R4 flash cards and a modification of a whitelist found in the 3DS firmware, which dictated the software and cartridges it could run. At present, this whitelist purportedly must be manually hacked by any user attempting to run copied software on their RDS. Observed with the R4i group responsible for the hack. Expect Nintendo to release a firmware update to block the R4 once again. But that's just funny. People's, the first day, that's the first thing people try to do is hack it. Try to get in there and play their pirated games or, ROMs on there. It's pretty funny stuff. It's fun.
It's interesting. One thing that's kind of disappointing about the 3DS, though, it's region locked.
I fucking hate that.
That's so stupid.
Oh, I'm pissed about that as well. I mean, here's the thing that's really pissed me off is the US launch, like Resident Evil, the US isn't getting Resident Evil as a launch title. Well, I think either Europe or Australia is getting that as a launch game. Another game I really was looking forward to is Rabbids Travel in Time, where Australia is getting that at launch and we're not. Otherwise, I'd import it, but it's not possible now.
Do we get Professor Layton at
No,
launch?
only Japan.
Jesus Christ. That's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot about that it's reaching coded. I remember being mad about that like 2 weeks ago when I'm like, what the hell? This is bullshit. And then I forgot about it, and then you brought it up again.
And, I think it's going to cost a lot more in Europe than it does over in the States. So I'd be really upset if I was living in, like, UK. Because it's significantly more money for the system and the games.
How much do we know? Like, a guesstimate? Is it like £25 more or something?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. So I love your accent when you said that.
Makes it authentic.
Yeah.
It's 50, well, I am from England. I was from Yorkshire. I'm allowed to fake a good English accent. 50 pounds? What the fuck? I should see that's my green impression. This is an outrage. America gets it for this amount of money. We have to pay £50 more. Give me more fish and chips and bring my tea.
Hey, do you drink tea? So you should.
I do drink tea. Absolutely. I drink tea. I don't load myself up with coffee.
He gets his little cup and his little saucer.
So that's funny, but yeah. So that was hack day one. So I wonder. You know what? There'll be a device to play copied games on your 3DS after a couple of months.
Oh sure.
Yeah. It's funny, actually. I was in Game Deals and I was talking to this young kid. He's like 14 years old, and he had one of these cards that you play on your DSi or whatever, and to play copied games on there, copied DS games. And I'm like, oh, you got one of those? And he's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, oh, you don't like it? Like, what are your thoughts on it? He's like, yeah, being able to get anything, you don't really appreciate it, And I thought that was kind of cool for a 14-year-old kid to say. He's like, basically he was saying that he could play any game that he wanted to do, and because of that, it kind of killed the fun of going out and buying a game. And
that's a good point. Yeah,
it's the same argument that we've made about emulators and ROMs. Is that they're fine, they have their place in gaming, but it's not going to stop us from collecting.
Yeah, there's nothing like owning the game, the physical game, and putting it into the cartridge and playing it with a controller that's attached to that console. You know what I mean? Playing it on your TV, whether that be flat screen or old school CRT. You know what I mean? There's nothing that beats that.
Exactly as you guys are saying, like, you want to play ROMs, knock yourself out. We'll never tell you not to do that. But, we're also saying that it's fun to collect. And that little kid was the one who told me. He's like, yeah, he's the one who's saying, yeah, man, I'd rather, get the real games. It's kind of killing the hobby for me. Man, your hobby's getting killed at 14? God. My hobby's killed at 14, that's for sure. Back in the olden days, you didn't have, like, games. Well, not on consoles, right? So I had to spend $80 on a game. I was going to goddamn finish it and then appreciate it. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad I didn't play copy games back then. It would have really, just kind of killed it for me a little.
Let's think about it. Like, in a way, I'm thankful the technology wasn't up to this point when I was that age.
Totally.
Because back then, I mean, it was, you guys know, and I think we've talked about this 100 times, when you got a game, or even, a console release, holy shit, it was like New Year's.
It was
like you had a party, you had anticipation. I mean, like, I had my money saved up. I was like recounting it on the table, like, I've got enough, I mean, it was crazy.
It was exciting. I know.
Same thing's happening with the 3DS launch. Like, I'm getting myself all hyped up. I'm making, the video top 10 games on YouTube that are coming up with 3DS, and I'm saving my money up now. I'm like, I'm not buying anything else besides whatever I'm going to buy at PAX, but I ain't buying anything else for the rest of the month because I plan on I'm going to spoil myself with that 3DS because it's been, forget the freaking DSi XL and the DSi and all that stuff. It's since the PS3 would be the last like new console that was released, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so since the PS3, we haven't had any new system launches. So I'm getting all excited for this.
I am again, and I told you, trying to get the computer. I'm like, I don't know if I can afford it. Well, I'm going to afford it. I'm going to make myself afford it. And hey, there's another thing, and this is not old news. We've been hearing reports that this maybe could have an effect on people, but now it's becoming official that Japanese players are saying that their eyes are really strained playing this game. And that this is, this machine is causing major eye strain.
We're talking about the 3DS?
We're talking about the 3DS. Is that, and I'm just like, really, like, it kind of kills it. Like it's all giving me these warnings, like, oh, don't play this; it's bad for you. I don't know. It's gonna.
Is there a feature to turn the 3D off?
There is. There's a slide.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then there's nothing to complain about.
Well, that's it. But people love to bitch. And I think I'm all excited about it. We're all excited about it. We're like, yeah. And then there's all these people, it's straining my eyes. This is bad. And, there's always some whiners out there that kill it. Like, yeah, exactly. John, just turn the slider down. Mm-hmm. Quit bitching and whining. People bitch and whine just for the sake of it. Like everybody who's throwing their Wii controllers through their TVs, grab a fucking brain.
Yeah, I totally agree. You remember that when it came out? It's like, Nintendo, what are you going to do about it? I'm like, people, hold on to your fucking controllers.
Yeah. What are you going to do about it, Nintendo?
Hey, listen, my friend, I told a story before. My friend, on the fucking night of the Wii launch, we came home, we were playing bowling. He fucking threw the control through the ceiling, right? Broke everything, right? The first day. Right. What did Jason do? I don't go bitch, whine, complain, piss to Nintendo. What do? I get on the Nintendo store and I order a dozen straps. I'm like, fuck this. If they're gonna break, I gotta order more. It's not their fault that my friend's a dumbass.
Well, I would have said a groinal attachment to the Wii controller. You would never throw that through a TV.
Fuck, I'd be so conservative. I'd be like flicking it like putt golf. I won't be moving.
Tonight, I gotta have sex later on.
There's a funny website. I'm not sure if it's still up or not. It was called We Have a Problem. It's WII Have a Problem.
Yeah,
and it's basically photos of people post on there of controllers through TVs or black eyes or I mean, just
there's dozens of them too.
Yeah.
John, I want to start my own website called You Have a Problem. Right. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, get your brains together.
Yeah.
Like, God almighty. People love bitching about things. Just enjoy the things. God damn it. Or don't bitch about it. Just don't buy it. It's just like anything in life. God. Anybody can bitch. But to appreciate something, that takes something else. That's the finer points in life. Fuck all those people. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to bitch at the end. But so why don't we talk about what we've been playing lately? Jason, what have you been playing lately?
I've been playing actually a whole bunch of Flat Out Ultimate Carnage for 360. Again, if you guys haven't picked that up yet, we all should pick that up. That's a great streaming game too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good game. It's like Destruction Derby meets Burnout.
Okay, interesting.
So it's a good racing game there. Dirt racer. Kind of has everything. It has the street, the track, the dirt, the field. It's got it all. So I've been playing that on 360. Actually playing quite a bit of TNT Racers still with everyone. And just recently, the other night, we did the live stream of the funny live stream. It was kind of glitch ridden, wasn't it, guys?
Oh man!
So the night started out. We started out wanting to play Outrun.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't launch. With all of us in the room, it wouldn't launch.
Yeah.
For some reason. So then we moved to Borderlands. And that was fun for what? We played a good about an hour there until we all ran out of ammo and the enemies kept respawning and it was over.
And it was like you'd die and then it'd take money away every time you die, like $150, whatever it was, Until like we're becoming broke, we had no ammo, and then like we respawn, and then there's enemies right there, right, and they kill you right away.
Right,
the
right
enemies
where you
are
spawn.
spawning. Yeah.
And then what was so frustrating is this big boss we were all trying to fight, and I know Pete was talked over. He was like, "Dude, he's back to full health," because we had him down to like halfway or whatever. I'm like, that's the straw that broke the camel's back right there for me.
But the thing is that really killed it for us was we were like, okay, he's back to full health. Let's go back. We'll backtrack to the beginning and we'll restock on ammo. But on the way back, the enemies were starting to respawn, and we're like, fuck this. By the time we get ammo and make it all the way back to the boss, we'll be out of fucking ammo again. So what is the point?
Yeah. But we couldn't even get back to the ammo because so many enemies were regenerating and we had no ammo.
Right.
So we had to shoot them.
We're trying to melee them, and it's not happening.
Yeah.
That was funny. And you know what? I just had enough. I'm like, fuck this shit. I can't. This is just stupid.
Fuck this shit.
It's a really fun game. I like the first person mixed RPG elements of it.
Yeah.
I think that's a very unique. I really enjoy the game. I hopefully, we'll definitely try it again. But it was just the point where it was just so frustrating. I don't know if maybe we picked a mission that was just maybe too hard for our level status, because I think we're at level 12 at this point. But I don't know, So
I mean, this is all your three. This is the three of your like basically first time going through the game. Johnny, I know you played a little bit of it before, but I did when the game first came out. I did go through it. I made it fairly far into the game, and for the most part, like what we're doing now, at least in the base, I have not played any of the expansions. I heard that some of the expansions are a lot better than the actual game itself. So really, it is it does get a bit repetitive because basically all we've been doing is how the whole game is going to be kind of fetch quest missions, and you just go through the dungeons and make it to the boss. I mean, the fun in it is getting the new weapons and basically play it cooperatively. I think Borderlands, personally, I would not be able to play that single player. I only play this cooperative online. I never do single player. That's where it's at.
Can I just throw in my 2 cents real briefly? I play a lot of first person shooters. I think you guys know by now I'm kind of the first person shooter guru over here.
Yeah.
And I've used a lot of shotguns. I've used a lot of automatic shotguns. I'm telling you, even with all of you guys shooting the guy that I was shooting with the shotgun, it took me 12 rounds to take him out with the shotgun.
Yeah.
Well, and I understand there's RPG elements because they have like hit points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's still bullshit, dude.
Well, they scaled the difficulty. They don't want to make it too easy, though.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I'd say
know,
that.
but I mean, come on, 12. I mean, I was out of ammo. I had to go buy again.
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a great game, though.
I guess it's kind of hard to balance with 4 players online that they think, we got to keep throwing enemies at them because they're going to be too powerful. They'll easily blast through the game.
We had a part of the game where it actually glitched out on us as well, where we were driving those tanks, and I accidentally maneuvered it into under a bridge or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and I couldn't fucking get out of it.
And we got
no.
yeah.
It
Then
totally
you guys
glitched.
tried to bail us out, and then you guys got stuck in the tank. And then
I came over like, here, maybe I'll hit you,
Yeah.
and knock you out. I drove right under there, glitched out.
And then
still.
I exit, and then what you guys saw of me, I was still underneath the bridge, all glitching out. But from what I saw, I was moving around. I was right behind you guys.
Oh my
Yes.
god.
Yeah, it was weird. It was. I don't know if it was maybe.
You should go look back on the live stream that Pete did because you were like stuck in the bridge.
I know.
on
I
the side
saw
of
it. I was watching it.
Oh, okay.
And I saw what you guys saw, and then here I am at my viewpoint. I'm right behind you, and looking at Jason's ass because he's a girl, So.
Ooh.
So anyway.
That was a glitchy night for us because
yeah.
I know we didn't really mention it like in detail, but when we were playing Outrun, we're all racing, and then all of a sudden I go like right down the highway, and all of a sudden I'm in the middle of the air, and my car is like blasting all over the place, and I'm like, oh shit, what the hell is going on? And I talk to you guys, are like, oh, we're all glitched out. I'm like, okay, and then we had that.
Crash, yeah.
Yeah, then we crash and we can get the game going again. Then we start, Borderlands will be our savior. We'll have a lot of fun in that. And then we started we got into a point in that where we glitched out. And then we got into almost like what would be classed as a no-win scenario. That could we have gotten through that? That's questionable.
Not with ammo. We weren't going anywhere, dude.
What happened is we kept respawning and trying to get through, and we weren't getting through. If you watch that video, it'll show that. We're not getting anywhere fast.
Yeah.
We just kept through. So, yeah, that was a fun night.
And just a reminder for anybody that's like, wait, where can we watch you play games? Basically, follow us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. And every once in a while, we're like, hey, let's play some games. And I'm like, okay, I'll stream it online. And there's a chat room there. You guys can watch us play. Once in a while, we talk to the chat room when we're, not looking at the game screen. But if you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, we will update you when we go live. We might give a little advance notice. Sometimes it's kind of spontaneous. So make sure you follow us on there, and you can possibly catch us streaming. And it's not as fun, but you can go back and watch the archived video of it as well. I streamed it on my channel, but we do have a All Gen Gamers Justin.tv channel now as well, which I'm sure would be a little bit smarter for us to use, I guess, in the future. We'll start using that.
Yeah, and I think we're going to, like we did last episode, I think we're going to start streaming live, every once in a while.
More often than, because it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. So we're going to do it not every single episode, but on a more frequent basis, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, doing that live is fun, but my only concern is that doing a live episode like that, where we have a chat room, where sometimes we're talking to the chat room, and the other listeners won't be, understand some of that. That's the only thing I'm worried about, getting lost in translation.
Well, I've listened to other podcasts that have transitioned from recorded to live, and there's always those people that complain about it, but some people actually think that the show is more natural and organic when it's live.
Yeah. More interactive. Yeah. I'll definitely listen to it, because when you're kind of a part of it, you're just a part of it. So it'll be interesting just to listen to it from an audience point of view. So when the episode's up, which will be for us tomorrow, I'm looking forward to listening to it. What do you think of it, Jason?
Think about what? Sorry,
the live stream last week.
What do you think of my mother naked? I'm asking.
Oh, well, I'd like to meet her.
Oh, you haven't?
I don't know. Who is she?
I thought she was emailing you nude pictures or something.
She was over at my place last night, actually, John.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I haven't seen anyone yet.
Yeah, okay. Well, Gamester, when you're done with my mom, just send her over to Jason's house, please.
Okay.
Roger that. Oh, what, the live streaming? I love it.
Yeah, let's think of that.
I love it.
And did you listen to it again after we were done?
Yeah, he edited it.
He listened to the whole thing.
Oh, we were talking about that.
I'm talking about live, because I thought you said you weren't going to edit that.
No, I did not edit it. I went in and I put the Gaming Piece Theater music and Love Talk music, but I did listen to quite a bit of it to get the highlight reel.
And it sounded like a normal episode, but just I'm really curious to listen to it.
Yeah, it sounded good. It's like almost 3.5 hours. We talked about a lot of cool stuff. It was very interesting. Again, it's live, uncut. Well, by this time, people have already heard it a few episodes, but it was live, uncut, and raw. It was fun. It was long. It's a lot of work. If I want to edit something like that, it takes me a long time, and I just don't have time to do a 3.5 hour podcast, to be honest with you. To edit that, jeez.
Well, people realize that, and I think, hey, maybe when we do the live episodes, I would say just leave it, leave everything in there, and just to go back to what you're saying about the chat room, Johnny. I think as long as, if we are looking at the chat room, and as long as we read back what someone says, like, hey, so and so says this, as long as we're doing that and not just being like, responding to people without reading what they're saying, then I think, people that listen to the recorded shows can still totally understand what's going on.
Yeah, there were quite a few times where we were just like responding and talking to people in the chat room. Like they would say something and like, oh yeah, man, I totally agree with that. Oh yeah, or whatever. Like the people listening don't know what we're talking about. So we have to make sure we're just speaking everything that's going on, like as if you cannot see any of it.
Well, just like the podcast itself, it's still a learning process. And I know I was having some fun with it, but with my pictures. It's totally different if you listen to it or watch the stream, but I don't know, I had a lot of fun. And just a shout out, we had anywhere between 200 to 250 people in the chat room listening and chatting it up in there, which we only gave like a 3-hour notice too or something. It was not that much of a notice that we were going to go live, and having a turnout like that for the first time was amazing.
Very cool. Yeah, I can't wait to do it again. And I think something we're looking into doing is some video chatting as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Give you guys something else to look at instead of just staring at nothingness. You can watch
all
us.
Of our pretty faces.
You can watch us move our mouths and stare at our computer screens, which will be fun.
Absolutely. So, Jason, what other games have you been playing?
Oh no, that's about it. Really,
it?
I can't. I always try to write down the stuff, but I can never remember. So.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've been actually playing quite a bit lately. I've been playing a lot of the Neo Geo MVS. Played a game called, what's it called? Robo Army.
Oh, it's a great game. I love that.
Love the game. It's a great beat 'em up. Kind of reminds me of like Terminator meets Final Fight. I mean,
that's right, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a great game. Great beat 'em up. Love that game. I played another Neo Geo game that Jason I think would be fond of. It's called Thrash Rally.
I haven't played it.
It's a top-down racer game, just like TNT Racers and Micro Machines. Very similar to Neo Drift. And I know you're getting off right now. Just listen to it.
Neo Drift, TNT, Micro Machines.
So definitely check that game out. It's a great game. Absolutely a lot of fun.
What are you playing on your MVS?
On my MVS, yeah.
Cool. I'm going to come borrow that tomorrow. Sounds good.
Come over and we'll definitely check it out.
All right.
I kind of regret. I just want to kind of real fast. I think I kind of regret buying the AES. Honestly, like there's so many great games that you guys always talk about for the Neo Geo, and just owning an MVS just seems like it would make more sense to me because I'd be able to get them more cheaply, more affordably. Whereas the AES, man, you pay up the ass to get some of these titles.
Yeah, well, that comes to the territory of a Neo Geo, right? Home system. Yeah, that's for sure.
So I've been playing a lot of that. It's always a lot of fun. Played the Rock of the Dead, which I mentioned earlier. I got played this. Okay, I'm still like really hot on pinball still, right? So I'm playing the Pinball FX2 on Xbox Live, but also picked up a game not too long ago for the PlayStation 2. And Johnny, you might like this. It's by Capcom. It's called Flipnik. Have you played it?
What system is this on?
PS2. It might have been released on the Xbox, the original Xbox as well. I'm not sure what other.
Flipnik.
Flipnik. Flipnik.
Okay.
It's by Capcom.
Yeah.
And it's the most bizarre pinball game you'll ever play in your life.
Really?
You can pick it up for really cheap, and it uses elements of pinball, but it's hard to explain. You just have to check it out. Wait a second.
Is there like is this classic Capcom, or is this just Capcom doing something totally different?
This is Capcom doing something totally different. Whoa,
that's interesting.
Definitely check out it. I'm sure you can find video gameplay on YouTube on it. There's different stages. Like there's a whole bunch of different pinball machines, but the elements and stuff are totally crazy, and it's really fun. It's really fun. The graphics are fun too.
That's fascinating.
Check that one out. Also on the PS2, I picked up a while ago, and actually finally got around to checking it out. I played about a couple hours into it. Red Dead Revolver, the first one.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah,
not a fan. I'm a big fan of Red Dead Redemption. Absolutely love that game. And because I got that first, I'm like, I'll try the first one, and it's just totally different.
That's the extra. That's another game, isn't it?
It's a completely different game by Rare. Yeah, it's the first one. It's before Red Dead Redemption. Okay. It's like the first one of the part, but just not a fan. I mean, it's totally different gameplay. The aiming is just off to me. The storyline it kind of jumps right into it, and I just wasn't a fan of it. I played about 2 hours. Maybe I'm not playing it long enough. I don't know. Maybe for the listeners listening, if you guys are fans of it, please post as to why. Maybe I should play it more. But I figured 2 hours into it, you think you'd get a pretty good idea of the game,
Yeah.
What else have I been playing?
Hold on, John. I just want to cut in and say I'm watching video right now of this pinball game. First of all, it looks amazing, unlike any pinball game I've seen before.
Right.
Do you actually shoot lasers at flying saucers?
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's like in these surreal worlds, and it's like a pinball game, and like it's got shooting elements. It looks awesome, actually.
It's a pinball / like action game in one. It's crazy.
Nice.
I'm checking eBay for this right now, actually.
You can get it for really cheap. I picked up mine at Hollywood Video right before it was closing for really cheap. I paid like $4 for it.
Hey, Gamester, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Just because we're talking about pinball right now, is that I'm probably going down to Vegas in June.
Nice.
With a girlfriend. It's actually my 7th time to Las Vegas.
Very cool.
But the one thing I've never gone and done in Vegas is I had like I've gone to all the arcades.
Right.
But what would you recommend to go check out while in Vegas? Like I know the Pinball Museum.
Right, Pinball Museum.
Besides video games, I'm going to. This is going to sound funny, but I'm going to go shoot some Desert Eagles and M16s when I'm there. Seriously, that's one of my missions to do down there.
There's a lot of great strip clubs in Vegas. You can always check that. I'm sure the girlfriend would appreciate you bringing them there.
Love that. Yeah. Seriously, should like that. do that.
But no, there's a lot to do in Vegas. I don't know. You guys, are you much of a dance that you go to clubs and stuff?
No, sorry, John, what I'm asking you, sorry, I should have phrased that differently. Yeah. I have been there so many times. But I'm saying a video game, what are some great video game hotspots to check out? Like I'm saying, the Pinball Museum.
Okay. Yeah, Pinball, there's GameWorks is on the strip.
There's a game where I was just like,
yeah, I definitely go GameWorks. I'm just trying to find, like, if there's some, like, hidden gem out there that I don't know about. I'd love to check out.
I think you should definitely check out the Pinball Hall of Fame.
I will.
Pinball Museum. I'm going to be there for work next month.
Oh, yeah.
Or actually, what is it? Well, actually, in May. It's going to be more likely in April, May time, I think.
I'm almost thinking like we all should meet up and have a little party.
Dude, I might join up in June, dude, for sure. I would love to go up there again in June. That'd be fun.
Jeez,
I don't want to crash. I don't want to be the third wheel of your.
No, it'd be great. That'd be a lot of fun.
No, we're not that far of a drive.
We're in about 5.5 hour
I've been known to drive that.
How much of a flight is that for you guys out there?
Oh, we drive.
We just drive it, man.
5 hours.
We got to do that then.
Yeah. And peak.
Yeah, because I'm going to go out for like 4 days.
Are you going to be there during the weekend, or is it going to be during the weekday?
I'm thinking, this is a guesstimate. I haven't booked anything, but I'm thinking about going for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Perfect.
I'm coming back on the Monday or Sunday.
If you do that, I mean, I can't speak for John, but John and I will be there.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it then. For sure. That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be a lot of fun. But that's kind of the things that only come to mind as far as gaming, Johnny. But there might, I would recommend maybe Googling it, and I'm sure there's some retro gaming stores that might be playing in there.
And you also recommend bumping into Will Wheaton at the MGM. I'll be looking for there.
I'm bumping into Will Wheaton at the MGM. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'll bump shoulders with him. I'm going, hey, you Wheaton's my friend.
You Wheaton's my friend. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we need to have a talk.
For those who don't know the story, because they're probably listening on the podcast, like, what's going on? Because we've mentioned this a couple times, but I was at the Classic Gaming Expo in Vegas, and I was at the MGM Grand, and just walking, trying to meet up with my wife, and I see Will Wheaton there. And, big fan of Will Wheaton and what he does, love Star Trek Next Generation and Big Bang Theory and all that good stuff. So I'm like, Will, what's up? Because, I've met him a couple times at PAX, because he's been at PAX. And he turned around and he's very nice. He's like, hey, what's going on, man? He's like, I know you from somewhere. I'm like, really? I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe I was like, I saw you at PAX. He's like, no, you got that the YouTube channel. So like he recognized me from my YouTube channel. No bullshit. Right? Yeah. So then, months go by and Johnny and I are at PAX Prime up in Seattle, and Will Wheaton there, and he was out and everyone was just mobbing him, and
we were in the kind of the showroom. We're like standing right next to what was it, Fallout Las Vegas,
right?
That big standee stuff and all that. Yeah.
So I go up to him like, hey, Will, and he's like, what? He just kind of gives me the cold shoulder, and like Johnny got this all shit on tape. It's hilarious. But
the reality of what happened is that Will Wheaton's there, and he's a celebrity, and all of a sudden, he starts getting like kind of a little bit swarmed. Like there's like 5 or 6 people around him, all start realizing who it is, and they all start kind of like gravitating towards him. And John just turned around and said, "Hey," and he was trying to shut everybody down. It wasn't anything. So that's why I said that John got Will Wheaton. It was just kind of a fun thing.
And he will not let it go for the life of me. He will not let it go. He keeps bringing it up. But
I love that. I think it's so funny.
It is a funny story. It's a a
good time. So hopefully we can see Will Wheaton. We'll kidnap him.
Yeah, I haven't heard if he's going to be at PAX East or not. To be honest with you, I haven't heard.
I don't
know. But that's pretty much all the games I've been playing recently. So
sorry, when are you guys going to PAX? How long away is it now?
It's going to be. We're recording this on the 1st, and it is going to be on the 11th.
Oh, geez, pretty close.
10 days away. Yeah, it's going to be
jealous.
It is going to be a great time, and I've already got like maybe 20 or 30 people like PM me and saying I'll meet you out in front.
Wow!
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah,
that's going to be a lot of people there. Holy crap!
Yeah, and I say that and watch only 2 people show up. So I don't know. It's going to be it's we'll see. I know.
John, I wanted to post something as well. I mean, if you're going to be there at 3, I might as well post a video and see who comes. Everybody will meet up there.
Yeah, I know. Splat Trigger has already contacted me. He wants to do the same thing, and Jumble Junkie is going to be there. TV and Last is going to be there. There's Steph to Death is going to be there.
It's fucking awesome.
It's going to be.
I wish I lived closer, man.
It's going to be a great time. I'm excited to just hang out with the people and obviously spend the weekend.
Is Chris going to be there? Chris Bucci?
Chris, I don't know. It's a good question. I haven't heard if Chris is going to be there or not.
Yeah. You should send him a message.
I should.
I think he's gotten kind of busy lately. I think he's got a bunch of gigs going on and work there. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It'd be great to see him again. So
yeah,
we had a good time hanging out. But yeah, that's coming up quick, man. Right around the corner.
Yeah, Jason, you must be jealous like me, eh? That's just
I'm getting excited though because PAX Prime is coming and definitely going to hit that up.
Definitely, that'll be good.
And if you come to Vegas soon.
Yeah, which I will in June. I will be there for sure. It's my girlfriend's birthday. She's never been, so she's like, "Let's go to Vegas and shoot some M16s." I'm like, "Yes, let's do it."
We need to get Pete out to PAX Prime. Maybe if we sell some T-shirts, All Gen Gamer T-shirts, and use that proceeds for him to get. But we need to do something to get him to come out.
Yeah, we gotta get him out there because all of us are gonna be there as it is.
Absolutely,
it would be fun. Yeah.
Find out how much of a price tag it is to get
Pete,
over.
I was thinking more about it too. Airfare is actually cheap around that time. Cheaper, I should say. Cheaper.
How much do you think it would be?
Well, I can look some stuff up.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Try to do that. We'll figure something
Why don't you give me your address right here and let me type it in with social security number and I'll look at it.
Social security, give me your
the cock size and all that. We'll look that
up. I just want to say I'm still. I got her just running in the background. I'm still watching this pinball game. This is crazy.
Oh,
Like it's right now. It's in like an 8-bit mode. Like I don't know. It looks awesome. I want to buy it. Like
it is like a game. I know. I played it, and I'm like, Pete would love this game.
How much? How much on eBay is it?
It's like $8.
Yeah, it's cheap.
$8?
Yeah, it's cheap.
Look at now they're playing Breakout with the pinball. Fucking amazing.
What's this shit called?
Flip Nick.
Flip Nick.
I just bought Need for Speed Shift today, so what the hell?
It is. Hopefully, you guys can pick it up, and I'd love to see your guys' take on it because I know, being from Capcom, I know Johnny would be a fan of it.
The fuck? Pull up sandals.
I've never heard of it before.
One word. No K.
Oh, okay. I just pulled up a whole bunch of sandals.
I mean, I would have bought it already, but like I said, I'm trying to stay true to my word here and not buy anything for the rest of the month because of 3DS, PS2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like $8.
Say again, Johnny?
What else have you been playing? Was that it? Or?
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I've been pretty busy with that, and of course, been playing Donkey Kong. But now I feel like I'm nothing compared to Hank. No, that's pretty much it, man. Just as far as games I've been playing lately. So, how about you, Johnny?
Geez, let me have a think. Just doing that streaming with you the other night. Guys playing that stuff. I really wish we could have played Outrun more. I love Outrun.
We played it after, and it did launch, so we should try it again.
Let's play it tonight. After the podcast. Let's go. I really want to do that. I love Outrun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What else? I kind of got a bit back into playing Police Knots. I'm playing the fan translated version of that, and it's excellent. But I got to tell you guys, it's kind of like a Snatcher type of game. But some of the translation is hilarious. Pete, if you can get a copy of this, the translated, the translation patch for this game, it is fantastic. It's really good.
You burned it to a CD, right?
Yeah, Baruti actually was the one who brought it for me. He said he had a copy. I'm like, dude, get that for me. And he came over when I was filming the movie in the summer, and he brought it over. And and I was so gushing to him about how cool the game was that he's like, I got to really finish the game. And I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he said, "Oh, dude," he goes, "it's awesome. Keep playing." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna." So I got back to playing that, and the translation at times is hilarious. For anybody who wants to see some screens of it or something like that, some of the funny screens of it, I put a couple on my Facebook in the Happy Console Gamer album. Check it out. I put some of the funny dialogue. You can't believe the translation they did on this. Like, Working Designs was always like kind of like I wouldn't say edgy, but they kind of pushed the envelope back in the day. But this fan translation is pushing the fucking envelope. I've never seen a translation like this before. It's very good and very funny. So, been playing that, and I know me and Pete were talking last time about Final Fantasy IX. You guys are like this, eh? Where you get that feeling like, wow, I want to play this game because I've never played it, or geez, I'd really like to play a game that, like these games that haunt you. Pete, you must have these games that haunt you. They're just
all the time.
I know. I think we all have those games for sure. And the game that has been, giving me that feeling is Final Fantasy IX, and another one is Dragon Quest V. Now, I just picked up Dragon Quest VI, but god damn it, I finished every Dragon Quest game except for 5 and 6. And I'm thinking, why am I going to... I started playing 6. And I'm like, why am I starting 6? I haven't even done 5. I'm about 5 hours into 5. I'm like, fuck it. Like, I get the strategy guide out. I get the game out. Put it in DSXL. I sit down. I'm like, okay, let's do this. So I started playing that again, which is really good. And I just got to stay consistent with it. I got to get through the game. There's this weird barrier with me in Dragon Quest V. I always start it and then I just put it down. And I don't know why the hell that is. So I'm going to try to really stick with that one. And so Final Fantasy IX has been put on the back burner for now, but my heart's still into doing that one as well. But that is really it for me. I've been trying to capture some footage with my old computer here, which isn't going so well. But yeah, this computer's on the last legs, and I've nearly pieced together the new computer to get back to making videos again. So I'm pretty excited about that. But Peter Dorr, what have you been playing?
I guess I'll start off. I've been playing more Bulletstorm, and I'm over the halfway mark in the game. There's 7 chapters. I'm on chapter 5 now. Still really enjoying it. Once again, some of the best visuals and environments I've seen in a game in a long time. It's a lot of fun. I have been playing more Harvest Moon 64 as well. Still really enjoy it. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. All of a sudden, I just felt like farming my ass off in these games, and I'm just having a lot of fun with it. And I've been streaming it, and somehow people enjoy watching me, take my eggs from my chickens and milk my cow and cut my grass and water my vegetables, and whatever. Hey, if people want to watch that, go ahead.
Now, Pete, let's tell everyone about your special animal. Go ahead.
Which one is that?
Oh, you motherfucker.
What?
You better tell these people about your special animal.
What?
Special animal?
Special animal?
Oh, I can't believe it.
What?
Pete, you told me. You told me about it.
I go to take a piss for 10 seconds. I walk back in and you guys are talking about animal sex.
No, we're not talking about animal sex. God damn, Pete, you have a special animal there.
What?
In your farm.
What?
That gives you wool.
Oh, yes.
Oh, God.
How could I forget?
How could you? How could you?
I have the Jason Heine sheep. Named Heine.
Damn right.
I collect wool from it every day.
Good wool. That shit is quality A+ wool, too. You can make fucking anything with that.
You can make
Rugs, coats, fucking snuggies. You make anything with that
Snuggies. Make snuggies out of it. That's great.
Yeah, so I've been liking Harvest Moon 64, and I also picked up, because I'm on my Harvest Moon craze right now, Rune Factory Frontier on the Wii, which, my God, like, I never realized that game was so sought after, because it is not in any GameStops by me, and it's not on Amazon, the copies that are like $70.
What?
So I had to buy one on eBay used, which cost me like $50.
What?
And games these days do not retain their value, honestly. You know, like, only maybe 5% of the games that come out these days, after the first, couple of months they're out, they go down in value. This game has retained its retail value, and even then some. Basically what Rune Factory Frontier is, it's a spin-off of the Harvest Moon series, which basically adds RPG elements. So there's dungeon crawling and killing enemies, but you still have that life simulation to it where you're trying to talk to girls, eventually get married to them. You're still raising your farm and doing your crops and raising your animals, but in this case, they're monsters. And it's a really beautiful looking game. Music is great. The gameplay is great. It's actually the second Rune Factory game I've played. I've played the second one on the DS, but I honestly couldn't get into it. But this one is something different. It's a lot of fun. So check out some gameplay of that. And then one night I really felt like playing some 3DO. So Johnny, I was sad that you were not there, because I played a game that I think you would really enjoy.
Oh, what game is this?
The first one I popped in was, I'm looking up there right now. Okay, first one I popped in was Strawl. I remember I told you about this game. It's similar to Dragon's Lair and Space Ace and stuff like that, where it's a FMV interactive movie-based game. But this one has an art style that's similar to, say, an 80s fantasy anime. So you've got monsters and dragons, and it just really reminded me of the anime style that you're really into. You know, maybe sometime go back and check out the recorded.
What system is this for?
The 3DO.
Straw, eh?
The whole time I'm playing it, I'm like, Johnny would love this game. It just mimics the art style that you're, you know.
How do you spell that?
ST. Hold on. I can't see it from here. I think it's STRHAL.
STRAHL.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to check out some images.
Does it play just like Dragon's Lair as far as you have to hit buttons?
Yes, but it was very easy. They give you the on-screen indicators to press, you know, up, down, left, right, and then sometimes you have to mash buttons. Basically the game is very short. You can beat it in like 20, 30 minutes. I was done with it really quick.
Nice.
Only the last sequence, the last level, I started having trouble on and I died. But I did, you know, I finished every sequence in the game and it was really short, but it was enjoyable, you know. It's the kind of game where, you know, you would have felt really cheated if you had bought it back in the day because it is really short and there's like almost no replay value, but I can picture myself playing this once every couple of years.
Yeah, I'm looking for some.
What's it sell for? What can you get one for, Pete?
It's one of the more uncommon games to find on the 3DO, but a complete copy, not that bad. It's kind of, it ranges anywhere from 15 to maybe 35, I'd say, depending on condition.
That's cool.
And I also played Ball's Director's Cut on the 3DO, which I had fond memories of this game on the Genesis. I'm telling, like, I had to beg my parents to get that game for me. It was $70 back then on the Genesis, but it blew my mind because the graphics look 3D. I almost said 2D. It's a fighting game that gives you the illusion of depth where you can move forward, backwards towards the screen, and all the characters are made of balls. Okay, you know, it basically
Human balls?
if they made a game like this today, it would look like a tech demo kind of. But back then it was fun. I don't know what it was. I really enjoyed it. And this one, oh my God, it has not aged well. It was pretty bad. I guess it was just, I was hoping I was going to feel all nostalgic about it. Like, oh, I'm playing balls again. And no, it was terrible.
Some old man's balls, eh?
So I moved on from that fairly fast.
To one of my favorite games.
To one of Jason's favorite games, the Road Rash game on 3DO, which I had a lot of fun with.
I love the soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack is great, and it's really fast paced. And if you're gonna buy a 3DO, make sure that this is one of the few. If you're only gonna buy a couple of games, make sure one of them is Road Rash. I have not played the Sega CD version of Road Rash, which somebody when I was streaming said looked better than this. Have any of you played that version?
No, I played the PS1 version, and doesn't even hold a candle to the 3DO.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree to that. I've never played the Sega CD version of it now.
So I can't really say how this compares to the Sega CD one, but out of the versions I've played, I think it's my favorite one. And then that was it for the 3DO, and then we did Borderlands.
Can I just say right before you move on there, I thought it was mind blowing back in the day when you lost a match. Like the FMV in that game is just like totally 90s cheesy, and at some points over the top. It's incredible. Like when you lose one of those rounds, it's like, man, you're such a loser. And like they put the dude's arm on the ground. You remember this? Did you guys ever see this part in it? They put the guy's arm, your arm as the player, on the ground, and they fucking run it over with a motorcycle. Like I've seen that a few times. Like it rotates, you know, what it plays. But man, it was like, oh my God, they just ran me over.
Then you get busted by the cops. The cops are like, you know, come and bust it.
Yeah, exactly.
The fire hits the screen and
yeah, it's like over the top.
Over the top, yeah.
You just don't get that stuff in games these days. And if you do, it feels forced. Like it feels like they're trying to be like a game in the 90s, whereas back then, you know, they didn't realize, I don't think at least they didn't realize just how cheesy they really were making their games, you know?
I know EA, there's rumors and rumblings about them making a new Road Rash game, but that would be an awesome, I think that'd be a great franchise to bring back would be the Road Rash series from EA.
I agree.
It'd be great.
They talked about it in the stream too. It's like, why don't they bring it back?
Imagine the online, like playing like, you know, the Outrun. Can you imagine playing Road Rash online?
Oh yeah.
And just for the few people out there, because I don't think we've mentioned, Road Rash is a racing game with motorcycles where you can punch and kick your opponents basically out of the race if you hit them enough where they have life bars. So if you weren't sure, that's what Road Rash is.
Nice.
And I also played a surprise hit. So
What?
a surprise out of nowhere.
Can I? I'm not going to say what it is, Pete. But were you streaming this last night?
Yes.
Was I watching this last night? Yes, I was. This is a super. Oh, I can't wait to hear you say it. Love it.
So I'm streaming. I get done playing Borderlands with these guys, and they all hop off, and I'm like, okay, what the hell am I going to play now? Someone in the chat's like, oh, there's an MMO RPG on the Xbox Live indie game marketplace. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Like, I didn't believe him. I'm like, because the indie marketplace, for those that don't know, it's basically anybody can make their own games and put it on Xbox Live for people to download, and you charge like anywhere from $1 to $3. And there's some real garbage on there. So I went into this not really knowing what to expect.
Hey, you're calling Maids of Balloons with balloons garbage? I'm offended, Pete.
There's some exceptions. That's not one of them. Okay. Technical adventure, you know.
Yeah.
All right.
So I go to the marketplace, and there it is. It's Avatar Adventures Online RPG. And basically what this is, it's billed as an MMORPG for the Xbox Live Indie Marketplace that allows up to 16 players to play at once in a world. But what it actually is, you get to use your Xbox avatars. So I was in game with my Sonic shirt on and everything. And basically, anything that you put on your avatar, you'll be in the game with. But it's in this persistent world where it's just like, obviously the person that played it was totally a fan of Final Fantasy XI because they borrowed elements from that I saw right away, right down to one of the beginning starting areas being a desert, which Valkyrie Dunes, anybody that's played Final Fantasy XI, well, they have a Dunes level in here as well. Experience point change when you're killing enemies fast. And I just know that they played Final Fantasy XI, I can tell. But I bought it. It was $3, and I played this game for like 2 hours last night.
Everybody in the chat room was watching in disbelief, and it was hilarious. Like this game was like, I hate to say, I won't say the word terrible. Its level of design was baffling to say the least.
Think like Minecraft level of graphic quality, just a little bit more like less blocky.
Yeah.
It like, just think that the game looks terrible, but
yeah, the level of design, like the city was massive. So you had to run all of the city for no real reason. They just made it that way on purpose. Honestly, like I was sitting there having a beer last night, and I was just like smiling to myself. I'm like, this is entertainment. Watching Pete play this game, and we're all commenting on the graphics. Like he was fighting a bee, and you had to see this thing didn't look like a bee. It was like black and yellow. And that was like it. Like I was like, I was
fighting cows, and I was fighting fucking fat chickens. They call them.
How about goats?
So charmingly stupid.
They might have goats.
It's like, I don't play this game.
But all of a sudden, I'm like playing, and I'm like, I'm killing stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy. Like how much content they fit into this. They got a map, they got quests where it's like, okay, kill 5 chickens and bring me back, 5 fried chickens and get some money and experience. So I kill something, and it's like, all right, experience point chain, and then I kill something that's like rare item drop, and you learn a new spell, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm fucking hooked right now. And the cool thing is you group up with people. So Comeback Kid, I convinced him to download the game, so he hooked up, and we're in there, and we're chatting, and we're going, we're doing the missions together and the quests together, and they were just random. Like people are playing this game. There are people that are max level right now, level 99.
Pete, can I say the highlight moment of the whole night watching this for me was this: Pete's in town. He's running around, trying to figure out what he's doing, and some level 15 players there. And Pete runs by, and he's like, there's a noob right there. I loved it. Pete's getting called a noob. In an MMO,
I didn't even see that. He actually called me a noob.
Yeah, I talked about it. They're like, how that guy called Pete a noob. Awesome.
It'd be funny if they recognize you in the game.
That's fun.
I wouldn't. I mean, hell, I want to. This game is fun for $3. I couldn't get enough of it. Like, it's just mindless. You just, you can heal your teammates. It's like one of those games where you just want to hang out, and just chill and just play together, like this is the game.
Is there boss battles in that game?
I totally saw. They have a giant enemy crab. I'm working my way up to the next dungeon, and I can see the boss. Like you can see him far away. Is a giant enemy crab, and yes, there are bosses.
What level?
What level am I? What level is the boss?
What level are you?
I am level 9, or no, level 8, I think. Yes, level 8.
What's the name of the game? Avatar what?
Avatar Adventures Online, I believe is the name. Totally worth $3. Okay, but
Right.
a lot of fun. Like I'd recommend that we pick it up. I don't know. It's up to you guys. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
That'd be funny for us all to play that game. That would be interesting.
I think we'd really enjoy it though, like because you do have to cooperate when you're fighting these enemies. You know, they have spells where you can decrease their defense, raise your attack. You have to cure one another. So there is a level of, cooperativeness to this game. It's not mindless. It really is like a $3 MMO. What you get what you get. And the world is big. This is not no little game. I checked out the world map. There's like 40 areas to explore.
Wow.
So
is that cow killing area?
What?
Besides the cow killing area, like 40.
Besides that, there's a lot of different areas. Yes.
I thought they only had like limited amount of space for those indie games. It's pretty amazing that they were able to fit all.
And the game has good music too. The game's 140 megabytes, so I don't know where the hell. It's a pretty big game for what they're accomplishing in there.
Music was good. Yeah, the music was good.
Cool.
So who knows? Maybe after some Outrun, we'll get on some Avatar Online adventures. It's just so funny seeing your avatars run around in this game.
Yeah, pretty funny.
Is there anything else you've been playing, Pete?
Oh, of course. Yes. Yeah. Where the hell is it? Here it is. Okay. So I've been playing more of Radiant Historia on the Nintendo DS. I was actually streaming that today as well. I don't know. I just love streaming. I think it's a lot of fun. Yes, I was streaming a DS game. And I talked about this last time where I didn't really play too much of it. Well, I've played a lot more. I am now about 4.5 hours in. And this is the new game on the DS, developed by Atlas. I know I wasn't sure last podcast, but yes, it is developed and published by Atlas. The time travel RPG, which I'm really getting into. Last night, seriously, I didn't want to go to bed. I was like suffering from insomnia playing this game. I was up until about 6:30 in the morning playing Radiant Historia. After I got done streaming, it was like 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like, I want to play this game. So I hopped on and I played it for like 2 hours, and just the writing is really well done. It's a little almost too complex for its own good, because you basically have to keep rewriting time, where you find out that you're basically destined to change the history, to keep the world from turning into sand. Everybody's going to turn into sand. The world's going to turn into sand, and you have to rewrite history to change that. But then you find out that there's basically, I'm assuming, a bad guy, which is also trying to rewrite history to keep you from rewriting history. So yes, as complex as that sounds, it really is that crazy, where you're going back in time to change the other person that's gone back in time to try and foil your plans.
Oh my God.
So, say you get to a point in the game where the game does come to a game over screen, where if you make wrong decisions, because they give you like these drastic decisions to make. I'm talking like Fallout 3, do you want to blow up Megaton Town or not kind of decisions, where if you make the wrong choice, it'll be like, okay, game over. Then you have to go back in time to figure out what point in the story you might have to save an NPC, you might have to go a certain way to change time to avoid that occurrence of getting that game over. So story-wise, this game is very complex. Music-wise, phenomenal. It's done by the person that composes the Kingdom Hearts games, and they did some other games as well. I forget off the top of my head, but it's phenomenal soundtrack. Graphic-wise, it looks amazing. This is one of the best-looking DS RPGs I've played. It might just be possibly the best one, actually, in my opinion. Battle-wise, the battle mechanic, I have got to spend more time with it. And I'm happy to say that this is one of the most fun battle systems I've played in an RPG in a while. It's very intuitive. I know I mentioned last time it has a grid-based system. It feels sort of like a puzzle game. We have to hit your enemies and combo them together onto the same tile. There's a 3x3 grid, and your certain attacks will knock enemies certain ways, and you can combo them together so that all your teammates will hit them at the same time. A lot of fun. I highly recommend Radiant Historia. I definitely see myself getting quite far in this game. So if you're a fan of RPGs, especially turn-based RPGs, the battles are very fast-paced, a lot of fun. Check it out. So yes, that is all. And I do have the game actually queued up right here. I have it in sleep mode.
Hey,
So here it is right there.
How did you, from a technical point of view, how did you stream your DS on?
Oh god. Oh, it was terrible. Very uncomfortable. I basically had to set up my web camera in front of me on. Okay, if anybody knows the Eye of Judgment game on PS3, it came with a stand for your camera. I use that for my webcam. I tape my webcam to that. It's sitting in front of me, and then my trusty old Dragon Quest Slime DS stand that I have, I use that to kind of rest my DS on and rest my hands on. So the whole time I'm playing, I'm sort of playing off to the side with my freaking camera in front of me, sitting up. It was really uncomfortable. I only streamed the game for like an hour and a half because it was just...
How was the picture quality?
It was okay. My webcam is not really high HD quality, but the quality was good enough where people could read the text and make out what was going on. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was definitely watchable.
Huh. That's interesting. I was like, I wonder how he's doing that.
Oh, it was a pain in the ass. I mean, you can check out the video. It's archived on my Justin TV page. You can kind of get an idea for it.
We usually do that stuff is they stream the ROM or something, which is...
Oh, I'd never do that, yeah. That's how people do it, though.
Yeah, that's how they would do it, yeah. Huh. Fascinating.
So, yes, that is it for me. From what I can remember, I might have played other stuff. I just can't recall.
That sounds like my type of game. I'm going to look into that. There's so many games I got to get on the DS. I got a backlog of games on the DS that I need to pick up. That's now added to the list. I think I got about 5 or 6 games I need to pick up for DS backlog.
So Darkspire, Etrian Odyssey series, or Etrian Odyssey 3, Radiant Historia.
Yeah. And what that damn Sega game, I always forget the name for.
Oh, Infinite Space.
Infinite Space, yeah, I want that too. I don't care what the critics say. I'm into checking it out. So
there's so many RPG fans out there. If you do not have a DS, you are missing out. There's so many exclusive DS RPGs that it's just unbelievable. And they're really good.
Good games, like the Dark Sun games came out. Have you played that?
Golden Sun? I have not been playing it, because honestly, I'll admit I picked up too many freaking games last year. So that's why I'm still, I'm trying to recoup and go back and finish some 2010 games because I've been neglecting a lot of the recent releases because, I feel bad that I bought these games and I didn't give them the fair chance that they deserved. Just don't have the time, especially these. It kind of sucks being a fan of RPGs sometimes because they are serious time sinks. Like, oh yeah, I can only devote to like 1, maybe 2 RPGs at a time, and these games take 40 hours to finish. Yeah,
I know. I went back to my old Final Fantasy VIII save the other day, and there's like over 100 hours. I'm like, holy crap! I spent 100 hours on this, and that's what I'm saying is that when I'm sitting there making a decision to do Final Fantasy IX or Dragon Quest V, I got to really make a big decision on that. Because that's going to be where the next 50 hours of my life, 60 hours of my life is going to be. So, yeah, I think Dragon Quest V. Pete, haven't we talked about this? That it's supposed to be the best in the series.
That's what I've heard from a lot of people. And a lot of people really like 5, and I'm happy I have a copy. And apparently, we've mentioned, I think the game is supposedly like super rare in all countries except for probably Japan, where people are buying this game for like $70. And just a few months ago, I got it in the bargain bin for $15, so I don't really know what's up.
I don't know what's the deal with that either. Hopefully we can go to Best Buy and buy it used or something. You never know. Best Buy doesn't... I don't think they understand some of the value in some games. I'm sure they can't. Mm-hmm. I wonder who's doing their pricing on used games. Like do they have people... I wouldn't say like us, but people who know video games.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Sure it's a computer program they use. Supply and demand. I don't know.
Hey, yeah, you're probably right, John. Yeah. For sure. Who knows? Gonna be looking at stats.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So fascinating.
Cool. What else, Pete?
That's it.
All you got?
That's all I got. That's all I got for you guys.
All right.
It's amazing.
Well, I posted on the All Gen Gamers Facebook a Wales quick draw.
Uh-oh. Trouble in Paradise.
Should we do a quick draw?
Sure.
Yeah. How long ago did you post it?
About 40 minutes ago.
Right before you started talking.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the Wales quick draw.
He's feeding me Pez.
Too.
You guys are always eating weird stuff over there, Jason's place,
Dude, he's always feeding me.
Pez isn't weird.
Pez are good. They're addicting though. Pez are very addicting.
I know. I only got one. Only got one here. It's fucked up. Here's one. I'll open it up. Here's one from Brian Stoner. He asked, if you could only play one genre of game, what would you pick?
Nice.
I guess I'll go first since I asked the question. Any surprise? No, I guess I would pick first-person shooter. I would. It's a tough one between that and racing for me.
First-person racing shooting game. Drive-by shooting.
They already made that. It's called Twisted Metal. Which is awesome. I love that. So yeah, I guess I would pick a first-person tactical shooter. How about that?
I like it.
How about you, John?
Shmup, is that the term that people use
Shoot 'em
nowadays? Yeah, shoot 'em up.
Well, all the young kids call them shmups these days.
Shmups, is that what the young kids are calling them?
Shmup.
That's what I would pick. Definitely, those are great games. So, Peter Dorr.
Oh, I know. You might all think you know, but it's actually MMORPG. Despite the fact that I have only really truly played one MMORPG to a high extent, which would be Final Fantasy 11. I've also played a lot of Diablo 2, and I did play some Phantasy Star. Phantasy Star Online for the Xbox back in the day. I actually played the Xbox version, believe it or not. But I find that I'm easily sucked into these games. Like, if I'm gonna pick one genre, I'm gonna pick one that's gonna, make me invest thousands of hours into the game without even realizing it.
Yeah.
So that would definitely be my answer. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, you brought up a good point there of an MMO, but I'd actually say probably offline RPGs. But I do love online. That's my problem. Is it's like a sick drug. I love. It's like these ex-heroin addicts that love to do heroin. And when I think of Final Fantasy 11, I love that game so much. But I know if I was to play a game like that again, my life would be the same.
Let's just clear up some stuff here. We had someone that was very infuriated with us, especially you, Johnny, on the forums. No, yeah,
Good.
Where they don't like us comparing, stereotyping World of Warcraft players into people that lose their lives.
That's
so
okay.
this is definitely not true for all World of Warcraft players.
No,
I
we're
played
not
World
saying
of
that.
Warcraft.
We're saying that we've had some friends that we've lost to it, and so we have I wouldn't say a bitter edge to the game, not at all. But I've lost a good couple of friends to it. So I'm not I don't love the whole World of Warcraft thing. I'm a cement. I don't really care. That's my opinion. But I'm not saying all World of Warcraft players are like that. How many people play the fucking game? It's like 8 million. I'm gonna say 8 million people are all like that.
Exactly. So
I'd
there
say
you go.
almost like 95% of them are.
So whoever that mad person was,
Yeah, that's a whale.
whoever that mad person was sorry.
Yeah, we're very sorry. We're very sorry.
Very sorry.
Very
Terribly sorry. Terribly sorry.
terribly sorry about your loss. Sorry.
This is from Ben Rowland. With the release of Pure Solar, the first new Genesis game in 15 years, do you think this could lead to a revival of sorts with new games being released for older consoles? I'll start, and in a way, there's always been kind of a homebrew market. They've been making homebrews for Atari 2600, Coleco. Even I've seen some Jaguar homebrew games. So I think it hasn't definitely never left, but I think it could definitely grow. That's my opinion. Pete?
I totally agree. I think with the success of Pure Solar, this game is really successful. Like, copies are they just did a third reprint, or second reprint, I should say. And I'm sure that's going to sell out very fast, but I think it's good that they're releasing homebrews and they're getting the attention that they're getting, because hell, I don't know what it is lately. I guess maybe it was the hype behind Pure Solar, but I've been starting to get really interested. I used to kind of be against reproductions and, homebrews. I was like, it's not official. I don't care, whatever, But lately, I don't know what it is. I've been really interested in them. I've actually been buying some lately. I bought one on the Dreamcast, actually, very recently. Hopefully it should be here soon. I don't want to say what that is yet, but I did buy my first Dreamcast homebrew, which was not cheap, but I'm looking forward to playing it. But I totally support it. So what about you, Jody?
I think what you're saying is it's exciting seeing. It's just exciting getting Genesis games again.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. I gotta admit, like you kept bugging me saying, "Are you getting this Pure Solar?" And I'm like, "No, it's a homebrew game." I had that same kind of attitude, but the more and more we've been talking about it, the more interested in it I got. And it's cool to see old releases, and I hope, anyways, that's not answering the question, but I hope more people decide to do it. It'd be fun to play another PlayStation 1 game again. You know, imagine an RPG that some kids in their basement created that's actually really cool. That'd be awesome. I mean,
it's such a strange feeling playing Pure Solar that's so different from, you know, just playing a new release on, say, the DS or something, which there's similar games out there, you know, in terms of graphics these days on the DS, where just playing it on the hardware and looking at the Genesis box and knowing that this was created out of a labor of love and not out of profit, because I'll tell you one thing, these guys are not making much of a profit at all on Pure Solar for the amount of time and work, and even the money they charge for it is really not that much for what you're getting.
Take that, Peter Dorr. Stick that in your pooper, Peter Dorr.
I even gave him 2 minutes. How about that? Look how nice I am, you fucking bastards.
Hey, there's no need to get angry.
Well, you guys talking all that shit always to me. Jason doesn't have to. He's got 15 minutes to talk.
Jason, 5 minutes.
Put it in my pooper.
What about you, Jason?
I think the technology is definitely there now. So I would not be surprised if we see more of this happening. If we see a bunch of homebrew stuff coming up for these older consoles, and I welcome it. To tell you the truth, I would love nothing more than to be able to buy, you know, an actual cart for my Super NES, you know, or even 64 for that matter, or for Genesis, you know, that is a third-party homebrew game. I think technology is there, and I think it is definitely more than possible, and I welcome it with open arms. Stick it in my pooper.
I'll stick it in your pooper. It's the Queen of England, and I'll stick it in your pooper.
Here's a quick one.
Okay, do it.
From Sean. He asked, farting during a local multiplayer session, cool or uncool? And I'll take a stab at that since I read it here. Thing with me and farting, here's the thing.
Oh, boy.
If I have a fart, I have to fart it, or I will die.
What?
It will build.
I don't
up,
even want to get into
the build up, and I will explode. I have to fart it. So, is it cool? No, not in a local multiplayer setting. Is it a necessity? Yes, I will die if I don't. John,
Whoever dealt it, smelt it, dealt it. Is that how it goes? Or, you know, definitely. You denied it, supplied it. Yes, I think it's way cool to fart. No, of course not. I think it's totally uncool, but it happens to all of us. It's a natural process, and I always admit to my farts. I'm actually I'm a man. I man up to it.
especially if they smell like shit.
Dude, if they smell like shit, oh man. You know, have the beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. You know how it goes.
Yeah,
that's my answer. So, Johnny,
I gotta say, sniffalicious. My answer. Fuck. Sure, whatever floats your boat. I don't know. I don't really have a comment on toilet humor like that. Peter Dorr, though. Peter Dorr has a lot to say about this.
I have a question for Johnny. Johnny, real quick for you.
Yep.
How about farting during sex?
Fuck off. That's only if you're having sex with a dog. But that's
how about after? Did you guys have to fart after?
Yeah.
Maybe I ought to. Maybe
well, you know,
keep that one to myself.
Farting during sex?
No, after.
After sex? Yeah. Okay.
You guys do that orally? Like, is that?
No, never mind. But Mr. Peter Dorr has a lot to say about this.
I really want to start that me and Pete, this is pure coincidence. We're talking about this for about 5 hours before we began the podcast. And Pete said to me, he's like, oh my God, Johnny. He goes, if we ever get asked that question, I have so much to say about it. It's going to boggle the audience's mind. And he's really worried. He's like, if this Hank Chien is on, he might be completely offended with what I had to say. So it's kind of good that it got to this point in the podcast that Hank is gone and Pete can fully unload and say everything that he wants to say on this subject, which is going to be a lot. So Pete, what do you think?
When it comes to local multiplayer, I have respect for my peers. So no, I would never fart in a local multiplayer game in front of other people if I can help it.
That's a short answer. Well, the long answer was about 5 hours long here. No,
but I would have respect. I would definitely not be like Mr. Jason.
He'd do it in their mouth to muffle the sound.
But what do raisins do to you?
They don't have too much of an effect, actually.
Okay, well, what do apples do to you then?
Pete is
Not
a
much.
horse.
Okay,
Pete is a horse.
what do enchiladas have then? What do they do?
I wouldn't eat them.
God damn it!
Just so you know, like we've been studying what Pete eats, and we've decided that Pete is not actually a human being; he's a horse. He survives on eating grains, and apples are a main staple of his diet. Is this not right, Pete?
No. Today I had some sushi, which was very delicious, and miso soup.
That's. He plays a lot of Harvest Moon. You see why?
Yes. All of a sudden, I've been playing Harvest Moon and eating my vegetables.
Pete has a horse, I have the dogs, Johnny's like the goat, and Jason's got the whale.
For show. It's a fucking zoo. All Gen Gamers Zoo.
I'm seeing Mr. Techno Squeak. I'm sorry. We've answered enough questions for you for this year.
Your quota is done.
Your quota. We love you. We think you're a fantastic guy, but my God, man. There's favoritism going on, and we have to stop it. Do you think video games will have... Oh, sorry. This is from Justin Busi Carlino.
Pussy.
And he says, do you think video games will have another crash like they did back in 1983? If so, when? I will start. I don't think so. I think we've come a long way since the days of 1983. And I think it was still video games were a very iffy market back then. But I'll tell you this much. This is my prediction. I'm going to do it real fast. Is that video games are becoming more and more expensive to make for the big blockbuster games. And I'm wondering, moving to next generation to a console, are companies finally going to get... Are they going to reach their max with spending allowances on games? And how many companies are going to be around spending that kind of money to make the next game? And it's a gamble for any company to throw money at a game that might not make, might not make its money back. It's kind of scary for a company now. They can't take gambles. So if some companies gamble the wrong way, they could lose. And Pete, what do you think?
It's really hard to say. I mean, you basically said everything that has to be said. In my opinion, though, I really don't think we can have a crash with just the exposure that video games have today. It wouldn't be a crash per se. It wouldn't get dipped down to there's no video games anymore. It might get to a point where, we do have that one console future, which I know we've talked about, which I honestly I do not want to see that day. I just really don't think that will ever happen. But I don't think there'll be a crash like the 83. It might, we might not see it on the news as much anymore. We might not see as many commercials for it at one point, which that's hard to believe. I don't think so. I think it'll keep striving. It's getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Yeah. What do you think, Jason?
You got a vacuum cleaner going on back there?
I heard that from somebody. That must have been Johnny.
Or was that your stomach?
Sounded semi like a whale, kind of.
Kind of did, didn't it? It was like...
Oh, don't pass the buck on me. I got enough goats over here to last
Well, Boosie, since you're asking about if there's going to be a crash, and if so, you're asking when, and considering I'm a psychic, and I can see the future, I'm going to say it's going to happen in 2019.
2019, you heard it here first.
Here. No, I don't think it'll ever crash again. The video game industry is massive. It's just as big, if not bigger, than the movie industry and the money that it takes in. And Pete said it with the exposure, and I'm going to go back with saying, with the technology that's available here, the advertisement, the online promotion, there's no way that it will altogether crash again. I don't think we'll ever see that again. Will companies go under again? Yes.
Definitely.
Will it crash? Probably not.
I think you see a lot more merging, eh? I think you see a lot more merging.
I have an interesting question for you guys here. Out of Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, which would you predict would be the first company to go under completely? From making consoles?
Hard.
God.
I would have said a couple of years
ago. Hey, you like that question, don't you?
I would have said a couple of years ago with the GameCube, I would have thought Nintendo was looking like it was going that direction.
I could see Nintendo pulling out of the console market, but staying in the handheld market.
It's hard to say it nowadays, isn't it? I'd say
the Wii's successful, but I don't know what Nintendo's going to do.
Sony's again,
I would honestly say Sony.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, hell, I don't have anything against them, but just if I have to pick one, I'd probably say them. They're a little too risky when it comes to their pricing on stuff, and just look how long it's taken them to catch up with the PS3 in terms of sales and just building that momentum. I think they're going to have a lot riding on the NGP or the PSP2. What price they choose. But I think Sony out of the three of them.
Yeah,
I think Microsoft honestly is the most safe of the three.
You guys remember this too, though. Remember, Sony is an electronics manufacturer.
Yeah.
Sony has been making stuff before they even thought about doing games.
Yeah, but PlayStation was doing the most amount of money for them.
Right. Well, it's true. But I mean, they still sell CD players and TVs.
Not like they used to.
Well, I'm just saying.
I guess I should rephrase
they
it.
Produce electronics. You know what I'm saying? So, they have a little bit of a backbone. You know what I mean?
Well, I should rephrase it. I should say from the video game market, which one would fall under first?
Right. So
okay. Then I would agree
make,
with Sony.
Sony would make more sense because they have something to go back on, whereas Nintendo
not as much as they used to.
No,
seriously, honestly, Sony does not make the kind of money that they used to make.
Well, they got TV.
What do you think they are when it comes to the iPod? Exactly. That just says it all.
How about the Walkman? Come on.
Yeah, the Walkman. What we're talking about 1987. I had my big yellow one. I remember them.
Mine was red.
Yeah, mine
it said my first Walkman on it.
They actually stopped making.
Yeah, fuck yeah, it actually did. It had a sticker.
They officially stopped making the Walkman officially last year.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? Yeah, they made up until last year. But anyway, can I answer my question? Or are we still
going? No.
Okay, there.
So my response to this question is absolutely not. There will not be another crash, and the reason being is because back in 1983, there was no regulations on gaming, where any developer or publisher could develop any game they wanted. Hence, we got, Custer's Revenge. We got Eat 'em and Beat 'em. Beat 'em and Eat 'em. So basically, you would never see games like that in today's world. So that's one of the reasons. And also back in 1983, you had tons of different consoles on the market. You had the Atari 2600, the Intellivision, ColecoVision. Those are the main three, but you have these obscure ones as well. Just a ton of them. So too many. There's just flooded. Whereas in today, you only have three main consoles. So I don't ever foresee it ever crashing like it did in 1983.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point, John. And too, and a lot of people don't know or don't realize. It's why do you think that crash happened? The game sucked. Well, that's part of it. It's because there was no quality control.
Right, no quality control at all. And
so the games did suck. So yes,
the game sucked, and you could buy. There's tons of consoles, and not only consoles, but Pong clones, and God knows how many other shit they had on the market there. So, even obscure stuff like the Bally Astrocade or the Fairchild Channel F, people don't really know much about. Those were systems back in the 1983. The Vectrix, that was a system that died way too early because of the crash. I know, Pete, you're a big fan of the Vectrix, so.
Yes.
All right. So is that?
Wait, I got one question here because I haven't picked mine out. Okay. This is a good one. I like this one. It's from Nick Hedrick. He wants to know, name your favorite Dreamcast game and what would you add to the new Dreamcast collection to make it better? So, my favorite Dreamcast game, honestly, from what I played, it would be really close between Power Stone 2 and Sonic Adventure. Based on games that can still stand up today. I know we've talked about Sonic Adventure. We beat it, to the ground. Based on games that could still stand up to today 100% in terms of gameplay and just enjoyability for not just myself, but for everybody in general, would probably be Power Stone 2. But if I had to pick one definitive one that really defined the Dreamcast for me, it would be Sonic Adventure. So I kind of have a 50-50 on that. Games I would add to the collection, which for those that don't remember, the Dreamcast collection out on Xbox 360 and PS3 as well, I believe, right? Or is it just 360? I don't know. Well, figure it out. I'm too lazy to look it up. But anyway, I would it at least should have Jet Grind Radio. It should have. Shenmue would make it would be awesome to put on there. I honestly don't think they ever would, though, for some reason, as odd as that sounds.
You're weird with Shenmue. That's a whole other beast,
Yeah. But I would think at least Jet Grind Radio. What else? What are the titles? Can you guys think? Hey, I passed it off just at the right time.
Who are you going to pass off to?
Johnny.
Easy. My favorite game on the Dreamcast would be PSO. because I got my money's worth out of that, which was I think it was 350 hours just for the Dreamcast versions. I spent playing that game.
I so wish I had played that back then.
Oh, you should have. It was fantastic. It really was the best time.
It would have been otherworldly because I had not played my first online console game until the PS2. So playing an online game on the Dreamcast,
that's
holy
so
crap.
appealing about it. Yeah. Like plugging in my 56K modem, I'm walking out, playing a console RPG, but online. I mean, I'd never done anything like that. It was so cool. Even though it was action-oriented, I understood why it had to be, but that would be it. Sorry, what was the other thing? What would I add to?
What games would you add to the Dreamcast collection? Like, if you were making a definitive Dreamcast collection, what games would you add to that package?
I'm kind of like with you. Wouldn't that be Shenmue 1 and 2? You know, like all these types of it's just so easy. It's just too easy. Sonic Adventure, Power Stone, but, you know, if it's only Sega related, you know, it depends on... A lot of people always think that. They're like, oh, a Dreamcast collection. Well, yeah, a lot of games that were awesome on the Dreamcast weren't Sega related. They kind of have to be a little bit for them to release a collection of it. So, Jason, what about you?
Man, when I think of the Dreamcast, this is what I think of. I think that this console is an arcade port monster. We got so many arcade ports that were almost perfect, if not perfect, on this console. So as you guys are thinking, you know, RPGs and that, and I haven't even tapped that yet, or if I ever will get around to doing it, and there's some great games there. I think of games like Daytona USA, Rush 2049, Hydro Thunder's on there, Star Wars Racers on there. There are just so many great games there. I don't even know what I'd pick as my favorite. That's really hard to pick. So I just gave you a bunch there. What I would add to it? Shit, I have no idea. I don't even know how to answer that. Yeah. There's great games on there now. Good opportunity for indie games and like homebrew games. I think that's a good market for it too, and some people have already done that. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a cool thing.
Yeah. So good stuff there. I'll pass it on. John, what about you?
I don't know. Soul Calibur is a great game. Really love that fighter. That's another arcade port that was pretty much arcade perfect from what I recall. And I don't know. You're right, Jason. I mean, Hydro Thunder. Star Wars Racer, I would love to see.
Oh God, Crazy Taxi.
Crazy.
I was gonna say that.
Perfect, and as a soundtrack. Oh
yeah,
God,
the Offspring. Yeah, that Crazy Taxi is a great one. And that's pretty much my short response.
It's funny, like there's so many games I'm thinking about that it's like, well, it's common sense. Like, you know, for a Dreamcast collection, like Virtual On, and you know, like you start thinking.
Oh my God, yeah.
Silent Scope wasn't Silent Scope ported? Silent Scope.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many games, as I said, that are not made by Sega that were really fantastic, like Conan Veronica, like, that reminds me of the Dreamcast. Like, you go on about the Dreamcast. I love that machine. We all do, I think. Big fans of that.
That was the quick draw, the whale quick draw, and
it's good.
Due to what we're going on like 2+ hours in the podcast here.
Yeah, we'll call it a day.
We're gonna call it. We're going on 3 hours according to my watch, but
3 hours.
So we're gonna call it a day. We're gonna hold off on the love talk. Hold off on the Gaming Piece Theater. We'll have that on next podcast. Continue to ask those questions on peacegameroomforums.com. Continue to please rate for us on iTunes. Go to iTunes and give us a rating. Post a comment. Feedback is appreciated. And thanks, guys, for listening.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jason.
Hey,
and thank you,
Johnny.
Sir? Yeah?
When you come to Vegas, can you bring me some poutine?
I will, but it'll be a little bit. Do you know what? Hey, Jason, I was going to buy some tonight.
You can only do that. You know, you send me text picture messages with that shit.
I mean, for anybody who doesn't understand what we're talking about, is that, poutine. Did we talk about it on the last podcast?
No, I don't think so. We talked about it last night.
I don't know.
On the gaming.
We were just talking about it. We're talking about it on our own, but up in Canada, you can get something known as poutine. And it was something invented by the French people. And what it is it's French fries, cheese curds, and gravy.
Poutine.
Oh, Jason loves using this. Come on, Jason. What is it called?
Poutine.
I love this. I love that stuff.
What the hell is that from?
Poutine.
It's from Poutine, the movie. Don't you know anything?
No.
We have in the States. We have what we call punani.
It's at www.poutine.com.
Yeah. Okay. So that's something that you only. I was surprised that's only in Canada. Hey, if any of you guys are listening and you have poutine in Japan, please tell us. No, what's it called again, Jason?
Putin.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for answering that. And so what I do to Jason's become very intrigued about what's it called again? Yeah, Putin, thanks. And he's kind of so interested in it that what I do is every time I get Putin, I always take a picture of myself eating it. Or I take a picture of myself on my phone, just of the poutine itself, and I always send it to him. And just
bullshit. He texts me that.
I know, and I'll text it every single time I get
Putin.
Thank you. No delay next time. I want the poutine right a fucking way.
Well, you're talking so damn fast. I don't know if it's going to be
Putin
or it's going to be.
So I woke up this morning. The first thing I had was
Putin.
And then I went over to my mom's place, and she says, "Geez, you look as shitty as some
Putin."
And I could go on. Yeah, right. I greased up my hand and I stick it on my dogs.
Putin.
My dog seemed happy, anyways. You know, I should have texted you that picture, Jason. But
yeah, I would have loved to have seen it.
So yeah, we'll definitely, if we're in Las Vegas, we'll go searching for someone. I don't know. Putin, thank you. That's a very nice gentleman who's supplying that lovely sound clip. You know,
courtesy of dictionary.com.
Huh? Yeah.
Yep.
He's famous now, that guy.